On a beautiful day like any other, this young guy is strolling down the street alone when his left eye suddenly starts acting super weird. Highly annoyed, he suddenly spots a beast standing right in front of him. Without a single wasted movement, Han Sen quickly draws his dagger and stabs it straight in the butt. A piercing shriek rings out, instantly drawing the attention of countless bystanders. And then, that beast starts to transform, turning into a woman. Han Sen's dagger is literally stuck right in her butt. It's an incredibly awkward and embarrassing sight. Wait, is that Qin Xuan? She just got stabbed in the rear in broad daylight. This kid has some serious balls to actually stab Qin Xuan's rear end. Who the hell is this guy anyway? Doesn't that idiot know that was just someone using a beast soul transformation? Looks like we've got a massive show to watch. Hearing the crowd gossiping all around him, Han Sen begins to shudder with fear. The woman standing before him is Qin Xuan, the most powerful and influential person in the entire steel armor shelter. This has to be Qin Xuan's first time being stabbed in the butt in public, so she is both furious and mortified. She just stammers, you, for what feels like forever, unable to form a coherent sentence. How dare you? You actually dared to stab my butt. After being turned into a complete laughingstock in the middle of the street, Qin Xuan's rage finally explodes. But before she can even make a move, Han Sen is already surrounded by a crowd of big, burly men, which is totally understandable, considering that woman is literally their goddess. Stabbing their goddess in the rear? How could Han Sen possibly expect a happy ending? He's forced to his knees, facing Qin Xuan's tsunami of pure rage. She points right at his face, fiercely declaring that from now on, anyone who hangs out with Han Sen or helps him in any way will be treated as her enemy. A short statement, but it's an absolute ban that completely crushes Han Sen's future. He instantly panics. Han Sen himself has no idea how he ended up in this nightmare when he just arrived at God's sanctuary. Han Sen desperately wishes this is just a bad dream, but unfortunately, Qin Xuan's words hold too much weight, forcing him to go out and hunt all by himself. With limited strength, Han Sen can only hunt low-level creatures, taking all his anger out on the black beetles. Eating these creatures' meat can grant anywhere from 0 to 10 random geno points, but Han Sen has already eaten over 30 of them in a row, and his points just won't go up anymore. Humanity's genetic code is currently measured by 4 distinct stats. They are ordinary, primitive, mutant, and sacred blood genes. Han Sen's ordinary gene points are currently 79 out of 100, while all his other genetic stats are still at 0. If this keeps up, he has no idea how long it'll take to complete his first evolution and get a ranking. For a whole month after that, Han Sen keeps hunting and eating low-level creatures, but he still hasn't completed a single physical evolution. He had previously thought about hunting slightly stronger creatures, but when he ran into a copper-toothed beast, the weakest primitive creature, Han Sen couldn't even beat it, and he almost lost his damn life right then and there. He had to rest and recover for nearly half a month before he could get back on his feet. Normally, finding a few companions would make hunting stronger creatures pretty easy, but now that he's been completely blacklisted by Qin Xuan, it's virtually impossible to find any teammates. In his deepest moment of despair, Han Sen suddenly spots a golden glow in the distance. It's still a black beetle, but it looks completely different from the ones Han Sen just butchered. His gut tells him this creature is something special, so he grabs his dagger and charges forward. But that golden-winged black beetle seems to be crawling rapidly right toward him too. Han Sen can't wait. He speeds up, lunging forward, and stabs his dagger straight into its belly. The system immediately announces that he has killed a sacred blood black beetle and obtained a sacred blood beast soul. Han Sen is absolutely shocked by the announcement. And by the way, because of their traits and rarity, the creatures in this world are split into 4 tiers: ordinary, primitive, mutant, and sacred blood. Sacred blood creatures are the rarest of the rare, yet Han Sen actually had the luck to run into one. According to what he knows, very few people in the entire steel armor shelter possess a sacred blood beast soul. It looks like God hasn't abandoned him after all. Han Sen eats the creature's meat and receives 7 sacred blood geno points. The beast soul he obtained from that black beetle is armor type. This is exactly what Han Sen has been hoping for. He immediately merges with the beast soul. His body is instantly covered in a suit of golden armor. Han Sen feels his body relax, surging with energy in an instant. It definitely lives up to the reputation of a sacred blood beast soul. Once transformed into this armor, compared to those made from primitive beast souls, it completely outclasses them. Before this, Han Sen would look at other hunters wearing armor from primitive beast souls with sheer envy. He never expected that one day he'd be wearing armor made from a sacred blood beast soul. Excited to test his new power, Han Sen finds a massive boulder. With just a single punch, the giant rock instantly shatters into pieces. This power is so unbelievably intense that Han Sen can't help but marvel at it. After living like a miserable outcast for over 1 month, he has finally reached his turning point. Alright. After bringing in this massive haul, Han Sen headed straight back to the steel armor shelter. Even though he had eaten some raw meat from the sacred blood black beetle earlier and gained 7 sacred geno points, he still had a decent chunk of meat left over. So, Han Sen decided to whip up a stew with it. Downing a whole pot of this broth would surely squeeze out a few more points for him. But that wasn't all. Aside from the meat and the beast soul, he also dug out something else from that black beetle. It looked like a brilliant, glowing crystal. Strangely enough, it didn't look like any part of an insect's anatomy at all. While Han Sen was carefully examining the crystal, the green-scaled beast locked in the cage nearby suddenly whipped out its long tongue and snatched it away. Before Han Sen could even react, the beast had already swallowed the crystal whole. Right after that, the green-scaled beast just froze, completely motionless. Han Sen actually thought it had kicked the bucket, but then, the strange beast suddenly began to mutate. Its body kept swelling up, shattering the cage entirely as it lunged forward, trying to bite Han Sen's head off. Quick on his feet, he whipped out the dagger at his waist and drove a fatal blow right into it. Fortunately, the green-scaled beast didn't have much combat power. It gave Han Sen a hell of a scare, but he managed to walk away unscathed. Once the beast died, the system prompt rang out in his mind as usual. What was truly mind-blowing, though, was that this green-scaled beast had originally been just an ordinary class. Yet, after swallowing that crystal, it had somehow evolved into a primitive class creature. There was a high chance that the crystal had catalyzed its evolution, just like how it had transformed that bizarre sacred blood black beetle earlier. With that thought, Han Sen eagerly sliced open the green-scaled beast's carcass. Sure enough, the crystal was still perfectly intact inside its belly. A wild, daring idea sparked in his mind. Could this mysterious crystal actually help other creatures evolve all the way to the sacred blood class? If that was really the case, he could exploit this to its absolute limit. Before long, he'd be able to completely turn his life around. But while Han Sen was riding high on his latest spoils, back home, his mother, Luo Sulan, was dealing with a massive headache brought on by their so-called relatives. Since Han Sen's father had passed away, his uncles had wasted no time ganging up on his widowed mother, Luo Sulan, demanding to take back their house. Their excuse was that this old house originally belonged to Han Sen's grandparents, and they weren't about to let Luo Sulan keep the whole place all to herself. You've lived here for over 20 years now. You've already gotten a massive free ride, so it's about time you hand over a share of the estate, Han Sen's second uncle, Han Lei, demanded in an incredibly arrogant tone. Second brother is absolutely right, Han Sen's uncle-in-law chimed in. This old property is worth at least 3 million. If you pay each of our families 1 million, then the house is yours. Otherwise, you'll have to sell it immediately. This time, it was Han Sen's second aunt chiming in. Luo Sulan was backed into a corner, completely at a loss. With her husband recently gone and their finances extremely tight, she had absolutely no way to scrape up 2 million to give them. But if she sold the house, she and her kids would be left out on the street. She wanted to plead with them for a bit more time to figure things out, but Han Lei immediately cut her off, raising his voice. Do you think you're the only one struggling here? Both Han Sen and Han Yan are only in public schools with compulsory education, but our Han Hao goes to a private academy. Just paying his annual tuition is already turning my hair gray. With that, he arrogantly gave Luo Sulan a strict 1-month deadline. 1 month from now, she either had to pay each of their families 1 million or sell the house and split the cash equally. If not, we'll see you in court. As soon as Han Lei and his gang left, Luo Sulan collapsed to the floor, her face pale with despair. Right then, Han Sen walked in the door. Although these people were technically blood relatives, he could never bring himself to call them family. Years ago, when they were drowning in over 10 million in debt, it was his father who stepped up to bail them out. Now, barely any time had passed since his death, and they were already shamelessly showing up to extort them. The Starry Group wanted to swallow our family business. If Dad hadn't stood up for everyone, fighting Starry Group and making them our enemies, there's no way he would have died under such mysterious circumstances. Han Sen gritted his teeth, his voice shaking with pure rage. Luo Sulan broke down, sobbing helplessly, endlessly blaming herself for being so powerless that she couldn't even protect their family home. Seeing his mother like this, Han Sen felt his heart tearing into pieces. "Mom, please don't worry. I've already talked to Uncle Zhang, and we have a way to handle this. Just focus on taking care of little Yan. Leave this mess to me. There's no way in hell they're taking this house from us." To Luo Sulan, Han Sen was still just a kid who had barely graduated from high school, but after spending just 1 month in the steel armor shelter, he seemed like a completely different person, much more mature and dependable. With Han Sen taking charge, she wiped away her tears and chose to place her trust in her son. As for Han Sen, he had absolutely no intention of letting those ungrateful backstabbers get away with bullying his mother and sister. Shortly after, Han Sen bid farewell to his mother and sister and headed to the teleportation station, preparing to return to the steel armor shelter. At the station, gossip about rising stars was always buzzing. For instance, Zhao Yalong, the president of a major conglomerate, had just completed his 3rd evolution. This qualified him to ascend to the 4th zone of God's sanctuary, reaching the demigod level, or the genius youth, Long, who had entered the 2nd zone of God's sanctuary with 100 mutant geno points. In the past, concepts like evolvers, surpassers, and demigods were completely out of Han Sen's reach, but now that he has that mysterious black crystal, he can definitely reach that level. Right now, he already has sacred blood geno points in his body. However, gathering 100 sacred blood geno points to evolve in a short time is still way too hard. For now, Han Sen only wants to get 100 primitive and mutant geno points. With that in mind, he heads straight to Zephyr Valley. Han Sen plans to speed up and make a lot of money, specifically $2 million to shut the mouths of those ungrateful relatives first. Even when he arrives at Zephyr Valley, Han Sen still can't stop regretting his choice. If he hadn't cooked that sacred blood black beetle's carcass into soup, he could have easily sold it for $1 to $2 million. Who could have known that all this drama would go down right after he ate it? During that day's hunt, the first target Han Sen encounters is a primitive class swift mantis. This species is known for its insane speed and attacks with saw-toothed, crescent-shaped forelegs. Its fatal weakness is its waist. Han Sen has no reason to let this primitive beast go, so he quickly launches an attack. At first, he faces a few difficulties because the swift mantis's speed and attack power are absolutely terrifying. But with his sacred blood beast soul armor, the swift mantis can't hurt him even a tiny bit. Han Sen still holds the upper hand and finally takes it down. Once that swift mantis is killed, a whole pack of them suddenly swarms out of nowhere and attacks Han Sen all at once. They seem to have mobilized their entire force, but Han Sen doesn't know the meaning of fear. The more he fights, the more pumped up he gets, eventually wiping them all out. At the same time, another person appears at the entrance of Zephyr Valley. It's one of Qin Xuan's subordinates, a rich trust fund kid named Su Xiaoqiao. Despite being filthy rich, Su Xiaoqiao is nothing but a massive simp. Desperate for Qin Xuan's praise, he doesn't mind throwing himself into hunting beasts. But once he enters the valley, Su Xiaoqiao realizes something is off, because there isn't a single swift mantis in sight. At first, he thinks some hunting party must have swept through and cleared them all out, but looking around, it doesn't really seem like a large group passed by. Then, Su Xiaoqiao notices some bloodstains. Heading deeper inside, he sees puddles of blood scattered everywhere. Judging by the stains, a brutal battle must have just taken place. Driven by curiosity, Su Xiaoqiao creeps deeper. There, he finds swift mantis corpses piled high. And standing proudly on top of that pile of corpses is none other than Han Sen. Su Xiaoqiao can't hide his shock. "Bro, did you really take down all these swift mantises by yourself?" Instead of answering, Han Sen fires back a question. "You want these? 1,000 Levo dollars each. No bargaining." Note that Levo dollars are the common currency in this world. In truth, Han Sen is also having a massive headache right now. Just because he went overboard and wiped out the entire pack of swift mantises, he can't possibly eat them all, so he has to sell them off. Luckily, he runs right into a rich guy. Hearing the price, Su Xiaoqiao's face lights up with excitement as he pulls out a thick stack of bills and hands them to Han Sen. "I'll buy all the swift mantises here. Keep any change as a deposit. If you get any good beasts in the future, I'll buy them from you at a high price." Exhausted as hell, Han Sen suddenly hits the jackpot with this wealthy guy. So, he proactively asks for Su Xiaoqiao's name and room number, to make it easier to deliver the good stuff later. My name is Su Xiao Chao, room 1046 at the Steel Armor Shelter. What about you? What's your name and room number? Of course, Han Sen isn't stupid enough to leak his information. After all, he's currently the most hated guy in the Steel Armor Shelter. Clutching the cash, Han Sen gets ready to leave. But he doesn't forget to promise he'll find Su Xiao Chao if he gets anything good. Dollar? I only care about dollars, Han Sen says. Who would have thought Su Xiao Chao is a bit of a dimwit? Han Sen says he only cares about dollars, but the guy takes it literally and thinks Han Sen's name is Dollar. Feeling like he shouldn't call such an expert by his name directly, he starts addressing him as Brother Dollar, Brother Dollar, Brother Dollar. I'll be waiting for you. You must come. Okay? After parting ways with Su Xiao Chao, Han Sen heads to the territory of the copper-toothed beasts to continue hunting. Since he accidentally wiped out the entire pack of swift mantises earlier, he needs to learn from that mistake and keep one alive to feed it with that black crystal. The copper-toothed beast is also a primitive class beast. Han Sen slaughters them one by one along the way, and finally, he gets a beast soul. Copper-toothed beast souls are highly sought after. Since their beast souls take the form of weapons, it's exactly what Han Sen is lacking right now. Now that he has both armor and a weapon, his combat power has skyrocketed. After a long day of intense hunting, Han Sen heads back to the Steel Armor Shelter. Just as he reaches the gate, he runs into a troop riding beasts on their way out. Looking closely, it's the troop of the Son of Heaven. He's the local lord of this area and also one of Qin Xuan's suitors. The moment the Son of Heaven spots Han Sen, his face turns icy cold, and without saying a single word, he whips out his lash. A whip lashes violently across his body. Caught completely off guard, Han Sen can't even dodge in time, taking a painfully brutal hit. You bastard! Son of Heaven roars in anger. Who the hell dared to sell a primitive beast to a loser like you? Getting whipped out of nowhere makes Han Sen furious, but the bystanders watching the drama unfold can tell right away that Son of Heaven is just out for revenge. It's all because Han Sen recently stabbed Son of Heaven's goddess right in the butt. In the Steel Armor Shelter, absolutely nobody is crazy enough to cross this guy. That's why not a single person dares to speak up for our main character. Son of Heaven sneers arrogantly, warning, "Once I find out who sold that thing to you, both of you are going to pay a heavy price." He clearly refuses to believe that Han Sen actually hunted that copper-toothed beast all on his own. With that, Son of Heaven spurs his mount and gallops away. His lackey, Luo Tianyang, follows close behind, casting a murderous glare back at Han Sen. Their squad is in a rush to get somewhere today. Otherwise, Son of Heaven definitely wouldn't have let him off with just a single whiplash. Clutching his throbbing shoulder, Han Sen rubs the raw welt and curses those bastards under his breath. He realizes he needs to use that mysterious black crystal as fast as possible to boost his strength, so these arrogant jerks can never look down on him again. Revenge is a dish best served cold. One day, he'll make sure to trample every single one of them beneath his feet. 3 days later, back in his room at the Steel Armor Shelter, the copper-toothed beast Han Sen has been feeding with the crystal, finally starts to change. Once its entire body turns a metallic bronze color like a statue, it will have officially evolved into a mutant copper-toothed beast. But even though its hide is starting to show a bronze sheen, it's still a long way from becoming a true mutant beast. Evolving a primitive beast into a mutant one is clearly way harder than turning an ordinary beast into a primitive one. Han Sen has no choice but to be patient, but just sitting around waiting feels like a total waste of time. So, he decides to head out and hunt some primitive creatures to sell for cash in the meantime. Plus, he can eat their meat to max out his own primitive geno points. Just then, a loud commotion erupts outside his door. Curiously, Han Sen presses his ear against a crack in the wooden door to listen in. Hurry up, we need to go see what's happening over at Zephyr Valley. There are bodies everywhere. You haven't heard? The 3 big bosses of the Steel Armor Shelter have teamed up to hunt a sacred blood creature. Move it. We might be able to scavenge some leftovers. Hearing the words sacred blood creature, Han Sen immediately knows where he needs to go. He sprints at full speed, heading straight for Zephyr Valley. Peering down into the valley, Han Sen spots Son of Heaven and Qin Xuan leading a massive joint raid against a terrifyingly powerful sacred blood creature. Get out of the way, someone screams. Han Sen watches as Son of Heaven executes a flashy flip, barely dodging the monstrous beast's devastating swipe. But in doing so, Son of Heaven's own mount gets brutally torn to shreds by the raging beast. It turns out that even though they are both sacred blood creatures, this monster is on a completely different level compared to the black beetle Han Sen killed before. Even when surrounded by Son of Heaven's entire elite force, the creature takes absolutely no damage. However, the beast doesn't want to drag the fight out either. After carving a bloody path through the hunters, it suddenly turns and bolts. Having spent so much effort and losing his prized mount, there's no way Son of Heaven is going to let his prey get away. He pulls out his trump card, a brilliant green bow. Qin Xuan recognizes it instantly as a legendary sacred blood beast soul. The catch is, this particular beast soul is a one-time use item, meaning Son of Heaven is going completely all in to secure this kill. Taste my wrath, you monster. Son of Heaven roars, drawing his bow and releasing a deadly arrow straight at the fleeing beast. The shot lands with deadly accuracy, bringing the massive creature crashing to the ground, clinging to its very last breath. You've got to admit, Son of Heaven looked incredibly cool right there, and he's already trying to use the moment to show off to Qin Xuan. But out of nowhere, Han Sen drops down from above, delivering the final blow to steal the kill on the Bloody Slayer. Thanks to that perfect steal, he scores the beast soul a massive, double-edged golden axe that looks absolutely devastating. Son of Heaven's men are completely dazed, but Su Xiaoqiao manages to recognize Han Sen instantly by his signature Black Beetle armor. Son of Heaven is absolutely furious and charges forward, ordering his entire squad to hunt down and kill Han Sen. He runs with everything he's got, but carrying that massive, heavy axe beast soul is really slowing him down. And that's exactly how we ended up with the intense chase scene from the beginning of our video. Sure, Han Sen has a few sacred blood geno points now, but hauling this giant axe makes even walking a struggle, let alone sprinting for his life. At this rate, he's going to get caught in no time, especially with Son of Heaven closing the gap fast. The heavy weight of the axe on his shoulder is practically suffocating him. He just got the mysterious crystal, and a bright future was finally within his grasp. Is it really all going to end in such a miserable way? Han Sen felt incredibly frustrated, but he knew he couldn't run any further. Taking a huge risk to steal a monster kill from such a massive army. Honestly, this outcome wasn't all that surprising. Mom, Han Yan, I'm sorry, I've given it everything I've got. Han Sen closed his eyes, ready to give up. But right at that moment, a familiar voice echoed in his head. So, do you want to give up? Do you really want to stop here? Are you sure you want to quit, little Sen? That voice belonged to his late father. Han Sen remembered when he was a kid, his dad used to have him play a virtual reality game. Back then, Han Sen was too terrified to take another step after watching the player right in front of him get swallowed whole by a monster. But his father taught him that danger and opportunity always go hand in hand, and he couldn't let fear stop him from moving forward. Suddenly, that conversation between father and son flashed vividly in his mind. His father had told him that evolution, by its very nature, is a risky journey for all living things. Only by constantly pushing forward and shedding blood can you truly become stronger. In that game, they were completely surrounded by monsters on all sides, and his dad had warned him that one day in the real world, he would find himself in a dead end, cornered just like that. If he wanted to live, he had to become strong, and to become strong, he couldn't afford to give up, no matter how tough things got. Little Sen, I know you're a smart kid. You're just too kind-hearted and reluctant to push ahead. But you absolutely have to do it. Even though I've guided you through this game so many times, the real world doesn't work like a game. After saying those words, Han Sen's father suddenly grabbed the blade in his son's hand and plunged it into his own chest. Thanks to that, Han Sen leveled up and cleared out the monsters in the dungeon himself. Back then, his dad had only committed suicide in a game, but who could have guessed he would actually pass away so early in real life? Memories of his father flared up with intense power inside Han Sen's heart, screaming at him not to give up. Now that his father was gone, he couldn't join him in the afterlife so soon, leaving his mother and sister to suffer all on their own. An idea suddenly sparked in Han Sen's mind. It was incredibly dangerous, but if it succeeded, he wouldn't have to run anymore. Son of Heaven had already caught up from behind. He leaped off his mount, drawing his sword to slice Han Sen in half. But right at that critical moment, Han Sen fused the beast soul of the Bloody Slayer with the beast soul of the Black Beetle. Han Sen transformed into a half-human, half-beast creature, human on top, and a black bull on the bottom. The heavy burden vanished, and his running speed skyrocketed, allowing him to dodge Son of Heaven's blade in the blink of an eye. The pursuers behind could only stare in shock as they watched Han Sen merge two different beast souls. Someone muttered that fusing two beast souls could easily kill a person. They couldn't understand why he would dare to pull off such a risky stunt while running for his life. He had clearly lost his mind. But even so, Son of Heaven had no intention of letting Han Sen go. He and his men kept up the chase. Some other revolvers had actually been watching their battle from high above, and they all absolutely despised Son of Heaven. They didn't know who Han Sen was, but they couldn't help but respect him for pulling off such a bold move. It was incredibly satisfying for them to watch that Son of Heaven guy look so pathetic. These mountains have 9 twists and 18 turns. As long as Han Sen takes the right path, there's no way Son of Heaven will find him. He even used a sacred blood beast soul arrow and couldn't even graze that weird beast. Son of Heaven took a massive loss this time. Man, this is hilarious. Haha, if he sells that sacred blood golden axe beast soul, he's going to be filthy rich. It's gotta be worth a fortune. Money? You think you can just buy a sacred blood beast soul with money? I wonder who that guy is. I think I heard someone calling him Brother Dollar earlier. What a cool name. Literally sounds like money. While those evolvers were gloating over Son of Heaven getting played, Han Sen had already made his escape. He found a secluded spot deep in the forest to rest. Different beast souls had different forms and purposes. It seemed the sacred blood beast soul of the Bloody Slayer had a time limit for its transformation. With Han Sen's current stamina, the transformation could only last 7 to 8 minutes. Thank goodness he chose to run instead of fighting Son of Heaven's army. Otherwise, once those 7 to 8 minutes ran out, he would have been torn to pieces. This axe couldn't be stored in his inventory like other beast souls. Han Sen betted that the entrance to the steel armor shelter was crawling with Son of Heaven's men, so there was no way he could bring the axe back with him. Under the circumstances, Han Sen had no choice but to temporarily bury it in the forest. Once that was done, he headed back to the steel armor shelter, arriving late into the night. Just as he expected, a massive crowd of Son of Heaven's men was stationed at the entrance, searching everyone who wanted to enter the shelter. But they couldn't find a single thing on Han Sen, allowing him to pass through without any trouble. Inside the steel armor shelter, everyone was gossiping about how some guy named Brother Dollar had made a total fool out of Son of Heaven. He even had to use his single-use sacred blood arrow, yet still lost the beast soul right before his eyes. The more Han Sen heard about it, the more thrilled he became. That afternoon, he had taken a hit from Son of Heaven, but by nightfall, he had already paid him back tenfold. That evening, Qin Xuan called Su Xiaoqiao into her private room. The reason was that he had slipped up and called Han Sen Brother Dollar. This made Son of Heaven suspect that the two of them were working together. If Qin Xuan hadn't gone out of her way to speak up for him, Su Xiaoqiao might not have even kept his life. Quickly tell me, who on earth is Dollar? Sister Xuan, I swear I don't know Dollar. I only met him once in Zephyr Valley. Back then, he sold me a few Gale wolves, and I even shared some with the boys to taste. Su Xiaoqiao had no reason to lie, especially since he was a total simp for Qin Xuan. She stopped interrogating him. Instead, she wanted Su Xiaoqiao to contact Dollar and let him know she was willing to buy his sacred blood beast soul for a premium price. Later that night, Han Sen couldn't sleep, so he went out to hunt. Son of Heaven had put a bounty on him and wanted him captured under the alias Dollar. The reward was so massive that Han Sen actually felt tempted to turn himself in just to claim the cash. Of course, he wasn't that stupid. But right now, there was another issue giving him a massive headache. His ordinary Geno points were now 91 out of 100, and he had already gathered 10 primitive Geno points. His sacred blood Geno points stood at 8, but his mutant Geno points were still at 0. This wasn't looking good at all. At that moment, Han Sen was stalking a mutant creature deep inside a lake. After waiting for ages, he finally saw it poke its head up, revealing a single eye. But it quickly dove back down. The reason for its sudden retreat was a sudden rustling in the forest. Han Sen immediately went on high alert, straining his ears to listen. A moment later, a figure emerged from the woods. But this guy was clad in absolute rags. No matter how you looked at him, something felt extremely off. The stranger quickly noticed Han Sen's presence and demanded to know where they were, mentioning that he came from Glory Shelter. This is Steel Armor Shelter, north of the Chris Mountains. I have no idea where this Glory Shelter you're talking about is, Han Sen replied. Hearing his reply, the man's expression darkened. Steel Armor Shelter. Have I really wandered so far that I've entered the territory of another god's sanctuary? With that, he raised his head and spoke to Han Sen in an absolute commanding tone. Take me to your shelter. Han Sen could easily sense the man's arrogant attitude, which immediately rubbed him the wrong way. He pointed the man in the right direction, but refused to guide him personally, using the excuse that he still had to hunt. But the moment Han Sen turned his back, the guy suddenly blindsided him with a heavy punch. He stumbled forward, his head slamming into a large boulder, leaving him bleeding and dazed. Han Sen was instantly furious. "What the hell do you think you're doing? Cut the crap. All you need to do is obey me. Now, get moving and take me to your shelter," the man barked, continuing to boss him around. Han Sen had officially had enough. He summoned his beast soul weapon, ready to fight the guy to the death. Though his furious stance looked incredibly intimidating, the man didn't seem the least bit fazed. Instead, his face twisted with sheer contempt. The three-stage basic spear technique from integrated compulsory education? Garbage. Even if my beast souls are destroyed, a piece of trash like you is nowhere near my level. With that, the man used his bare hands to snap Han Sen's spear right in half. Han Sen was utterly shocked, instantly realizing that this was a hyper-geno art. It was a type of ancient martial art that could stimulate genetic potential, much like a nuclear fusion reaction. What's wrong? Do I need to show you the massive difference in our levels? You piece of trash. I'll give you one last chance. Lead the way, or you're dead. Han Sen knew the guy was stronger than him, but he couldn't stand some lunatic dropping out of nowhere and calling him garbage over and over again. Determined to fight back, he summoned his full suit of armor. "Who are you calling garbage? Did no one ever teach you some basic manners? When you're out in public, you need to show some respect." With that, Han Sen lunged forward to attack. But the man's speed was insane. Han Sen couldn't land a single blow. Instead, he took a heavy palm strike straight to his leg. Although his bone didn't break, his sacred blood beast soul armor was left with a deep dent. Han Sen was completely dumbfounded. He had faced countless mutant creatures while wearing this armor, and not a single one had ever managed to scratch it. This guy's sheer power was way beyond anything normal. As for the stranger, he also seemed highly surprised that Han Sen's armor could actually withstand his jade skin technique. From that, he easily deduced it was a sacred blood beast soul armor. Having just lost his own beast souls, running into Han Sen was like finding a lucky break, so he immediately threatened him. "Hand over your sacred blood armor right now, and I'll spare your life." But Han Sen was no fool. This armor was a godsend. How could he just hand it over to someone else? So, Han Sen launched another attack. This time, he went for a powerful downward kick from above. Unfortunately, the man blocked it effortlessly, grabbed his leg, and slammed Han Sen hard onto the ground. Trash will always be trash. If you don't hand over that sacred blood beast soul armor, you're nothing but garbage. Shouting insults at Han Sen, the guy grabbed him by the back of his neck and repeatedly slammed his face into the ground. Han Sen was in excruciating pain, but his fighting spirit refused to die. Gritting his teeth, he drove his elbow backward with all his might. This time, the guy could not dodge. Han Sen's elbow slammed right into his chest, making him instantly cough up blood. "Today, I am going to ruin you," Han Sen roared. He then fused with the bloody Slayer beast soul once again. Before his opponent could even see what was happening, Han Sen knocked him flat onto the ground. He now held the complete upper hand. Han Sen rained down punch after punch on the guy, shouting with every single blow, "Who is the trash now? Who is the real trash?" The man was beaten to a pulp, desperately screaming for him to stop. But there was no way Han Sen was going to show any mercy. By the time the bloody Slayer beast soul wore off, the man was covered in blood, a truly horrific sight to behold. As Han Sen calmed down, his body began to tremble with fear. This was the very first time he had taken a life, but if he had not done it, he would have been the one dead today. That guy's hyper-geno art was simply too terrifying. After pulling himself together, Han Sen crawled over to the corpse. The body was in absolute tatters. He searched the pockets, hoping to find something of value, and sure enough, he stumbled upon something intriguing. It was a memory chip, and a highly expensive one at that. After returning to his private room in the steel armor shelter, Han Sen took it out to examine it. To his absolute shock, the chip contained the complete version of Jadeskin. What is more, it was illustrated with three-dimensional holographic images that made it incredibly easy to understand. Han Sen grinned from ear to ear. Today was truly his lucky day. During the day, he had snatched Son of Heaven's bloody Slayer beast soul, and by night, he had acquired a high-tier hyper-geno art from a complete stranger. He had originally planned to buy a hyper-geno art once he saved up enough money, but this saved him a massive fortune. And so, Han Sen began practicing Jadeskin. The more he trained, the more profound and magical he realized it was. About 3 days later, Han Sen felt his body growing colder and colder, but at the same time, he was getting stronger, and his skin even became noticeably smoother. His body temperature was now a full 2 degrees lower than that of a normal person. This was undoubtedly the signature effect of jade skin. Right then, Han Sen's phone rang. It was Zhang Danfeng. Han Sen, it has been ages. Let's head out and hang out for a bit. Han Hao and Shui Shi are both going to be there. Hearing the name Han Hao, Han Sen agreed immediately. Han Hao was the son of Han Lei, making him Han Sen's cousin. Although Son of Heaven and his gang were frantically searching for him everywhere, nobody knew Han Sen was actually Dollar. So going out for a bit should be perfectly fine. Before long, Zhang Danfeng drove over to pick Han Sen up. On the way there, Han Hao kept bragging to Shui Shi about the epic battle between Son of Heaven and Dollar. He kept going on and on about how incredibly cool Dollar was. Han Sen did not know whether to laugh or cry. If Han Hao only knew that the legendary brother Dollar he was worshipping was actually his own cousin, he would probably freeze up in absolute shock and stop praising Han Sen so highly in front of a girl. Still, Han Sen really wished Han Hao had not been sent to the steel armor shelter, as family issues were always a headache to deal with. Ever since his father passed away, his relatives had looked down on them, even going so far as to insult his family. Han Sen had no intention of treating them like family, but now that their son was here, things were bound to get awkward. Danfeng, where are we going anyway? Seeing that Zhang Danfeng had been driving for quite a while without arriving, Han Sen grew a bit impatient. We are almost there, just look straight ahead. The place they arrived at was the Starlight Martial Arts Arena. As it turned out, Zhang Danfeng wanted to watch some sparring matches. Today featured a match with Tang Zhenliu, who had ranked 5th in the first sanctuary last year, with his name officially etched on the God's Stele. For the past few years, the top spot on the martial stele in the steel armor shelter had always belonged to Qin Xuan, yet her name had never once appeared on the God's Stele. While Zhang Danfeng was busy rambling, Tang Zhenliu summoned his beast soul down in the arena. It was the sacred blood beast soul, the raging Dementor. Zhang Danfeng gaped, his voice filled with pure admiration. If I could just get a beast soul like that, my life would be complete. In stark contrast to his excitement, Han Hao remained incredibly calm. What is the big deal about that beast soul? I think Tang Zhenliu's raging Dementor is not even half as good as Brother Dollar's sacred blood beast soul. Zhang Danfeng snorted, tossing a highly judgmental look at Han Hao. I do not know if that Dollar guy is strong or not, but his beast soul was stolen from someone else. He is no hero. How could a despicable guy like him ever be compared to Tang Zhenliu? The very target of Zhang Danfeng's disdain was sitting right next to him. Han Sen heard every word crystal clear, and it felt like a total dagger to the heart. Still, the guy was not wrong. But in that kind of situation, only an idiot would not have snatched the bloody slayer beast soul. Especially since Son of Heaven was his sworn enemy, it seemed best not to tell Danfeng about it for now. Just in case you really are Dollar, and to avoid any unnecessary drama. For the next half a month, Han Sen went hunting while raising that copper-toothed beast. Just as he hoped, it successfully evolved into a mutant copper-toothed beast. Even though he really wanted to eat it to gain mutant geno points, he needed money much more right now. So, Han Sen reached out to Su Xiaoqiao. That night, they met in Zephyr Valley. Su Xiaoqiao bought the mutant, copper-toothed beast meat for $2 million. Taking this opportunity, Su Xiaoqiao also mentioned to Han Sen that Qin Xuan wanted to buy the bloody slayer beast soul and that golden double-edged axe. He wasn't surprised at all. He just told Su Xiaoqiao to pass along the message that if Qin Xuan could offer a price he was happy with, he'd sell. With the deal done, Han Sen went back to hunting. His targets this time were the quartz scorpions in Barathrum Cave. These creatures carried highly potent venom. Luckily, Han Sen had his black beetle armor, so they couldn't lay a scratch on him. After clearing out Barathrum Cave, Han Sen slung a sack full of quartz scorpions over his shoulder and prepared to head out. But before he even reached the cave entrance, Han Sen heard someone call out, "Brother Dollar, is that you?" As the light ahead grew clearer, he saw the person sitting there was none other than Qin Xuan. Han Sen figured she was there to settle the score, so he played deaf and tried to walk right past her. But Qin Xuan called out after him, begging him to take her with him. Only then did Han Sen notice that her ankle was injured. He also realized that Qin Xuan had no idea he was the guy who poked her butt not long ago. Wearing this full-body armor, he didn't have to worry about his identity being exposed at all. Since that was the case, Han Sen decided to seize the opportunity to score some good stuff for himself. He sat down next to her, pretending to inspect her wound, and asked, "It looks like you've been poisoned by a quartz scorpion. How did that even happen? You're obviously very strong." "A quartz scorpion sneaked up on me just as my dragon ambergris incense was about to run out," Qin Xuan said. a dagger suddenly appearing in her hand. Han Sen recognized the weapon. It was transformed from the sacred blood beast soul, malicious butterfly. Don't even think about taking advantage of me. Your armor won't protect you from this. Han Sen had originally planned to tease her a bit, but he didn't expect her to read his mischievous thoughts and be so on guard. Don't get me wrong, I don't have any bad intentions. Didn't you want me to take you with me? Han Sen quickly waved his hands, acting like he was being falsely accused. Qin Xuan still didn't let her guard down. She offered a deal. If Han Sen could safely guide her out of Barathrum Cave, she would reward him with a large sum of money. After all, he had been trading with Su Xiaoqiao just to make money. But now that Han Sen had already made the $2 million needed to pay off his mother's debt, he wasn't desperate for cash anymore. I do love money, but I don't really need it right now. You mentioned a quartz scorpion earlier. Is it still alive? I killed it. It's right back there. Is there a problem? With that, Qin Xuan finally sized Han Sen up from head to toe. She was quite surprised to see that his armor didn't have a single scratch on it, even after fighting the quartz scorpions. As for Han Sen, he agreed to carry Qin Xuan out without asking for money. In exchange, he wanted a mutant beast soul as payment, plus the quartz scorpion she had just killed. The two quickly reached an agreement, and Han Sen ended up carrying Qin Xuan on his back. Along the way, Qin Xuan couldn't stop wondering why Han Sen had eaten every single quartz scorpion earlier, without leaving even one behind. Lost in thought, Han Sen soon carried Qin Xuan back near the steel armor shelter. Since neither of them wanted to be seen together, he dropped her off near the entrance. True to her word, Qin Xuan handed Han Sen a mutant beast soul. She also took the opportunity to ask about the Bloody Slayer beast soul and the double-edged axe. Qin Xuan desperately wanted to buy them, offering a price of $6 million. Han Sen was extremely pleased with the offer and agreed on the spot, since he couldn't use the giant axe anyway. All right, get the money ready. I'll let you know the time and place through Su Xiaoqiao. After taking off his armor, Han Sen headed back to steel armor shelter with his spoils. Just as he passed the gates, he bumped into Han Hao, who pretended not to know his cousin at all. Once his friends left, Han Hao dragged Han Sen into a corner. It turned out he acted that way because he heard Han Sen had poked two giant hornets' nests, Qin Xuan and Son of Heaven, and he didn't want anyone knowing they were cousins. My path is just beginning, and I don't want you holding me back. Fine, I'll keep my mouth shut. We're complete strangers in this shelter. Han Sen threw those words back and walked away. Just a few days ago, he was feeling awkward about how to face his cousin, but now that Han Hao had chosen to look down on him just like his parents did, Han Sen had nothing left to worry about. He returned to his room. Now loaded with cash, his life was finally about to take a turn for the better. A little. Han Sen really wanted to share this joy with his mother and little sister, so the very next day, he headed home to take them out for a fun day. Han Sen didn't even hesitate to spend big, treating Han Yan to some jade ice cream, a luxury treat that, just a short while ago, he wouldn't have even dared to dream of. The parlor was incredibly crowded, so Han Sen tried to lead his mother and sister up to the second floor, but a staff member stopped them right in their tracks. As it turned out, the second floor was strictly reserved for the privileged and aristocrats. While Luo, Sulan, and Han Yan didn't mind, Han Sen was visibly annoyed. He swore to himself that he would soon rise to the top, and he would never let these ridiculous upper-class privileges look down on him again. After a wonderful day with his family, Han Sen set off to return to steel armor shelter. Every time he took this train, it was absolutely packed, and today was no exception. Suddenly, the train slammed on its brakes, sending Han Sen stumbling into a girl, and whether by pure accident or some cruel twist of fate, his face planted straight into her chest. Han Sen immediately caught a sharp elbow to the face as she thought he was a pervert. Ouch, hey, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to. Clutching his face, Han Sen trembled in sheer pain, but as they stepped back, his heart sank when he realized the woman he had just bumped into was, and she also realized he was the same ass freak from before. This time, even jumping into the Yellow River wouldn't wash away his sins. A leopard really can't change its spots. I thought you were just an idiot last time, but I never expected you to be such a disgusting creep, Qin Xuan growled, gritting her teeth. Hearing this, the bystanders began to point fingers and criticize Han Sen, believing he was just using a clumsy accident as an excuse to harass Qin Xuan. Han Sen desperately wanted to explain that the train had suddenly braked, causing him to lose his footing, but how could Qin Xuan ever believe someone with a prior record like him? Just then, the train pulled into the station. But Qin Xuan had no intention of letting Han Sen off the hook that easily. Did you really think I'd let you off that easily? Aren't you on your way to the steel armor shelter? Well, I'll be waiting for you there. With that, Qin Xuan stepped off the train first. Han Sen poked his head out to look, only to find two neat rows of people standing at attention, waiting to welcome her. But the real kicker was that they called her Station Master Qin. For Han Sen, it was like a sudden bolt of lightning striking right next to his ears. If Qin Xuan was the station master of this teleportation station, she could easily track exactly when he came and went, keeping his every move right in the palm of her hand. Han Sen clutched his head in despair, cursing his terrible luck. He immediately started brainstorming ways to watch his back against Qin Xuan. After all, if his secret identity as Dollar ever got out, he could kiss his peaceful life goodbye. As soon as Han Sen returned to the steel armor shelter, he ran straight into Luo Tianyang and his gang. To make matters worse, they wanted to drag him along on a hunt. Han Sen initially wanted to decline to avoid any trouble, but Luo Tianyang refused to take no for an answer. And just like that, the entire crowd headed deep into the mountain range. It looked like the Son of Heaven had spent a fortune to organize a massive, large-scale hunt. After a few days, Han Sen started to grow suspicious. Even though they had been on the move for days, they had only encountered a handful of primitive creatures. With so few beasts around, couldn't the Son of Heaven and his close elites handle them easily? Why on earth did they need to drag along such a massive crowd? The more he thought about it, the more he felt that this Son of Heaven guy was definitely plotting something behind their backs. Sure enough, before long, the group arrived at the edge of a cliff, staring down at a massive gaping pit. Luo Tianyang ordered the hired mercenaries to go down and lead the way, and Han Sen, of course, branded as the notorious ass freak, was forced to be one of them. Han Sen was extremely reluctant to march straight into the deepest part of the mountain range. Just hearing about it was enough to know how insanely dangerous it would be. He had no clue what the Son of Heaven was actually up to. But in the end, Han Sen and the rest of the mercenaries had no choice but to serve as cannon fodder, leading the way into the unknown. Deep inside that bottomless pit, they kept walking and walking, but the end was nowhere in sight. The torchbearer leading the way wanted to take things slow, having a bad feeling that danger was lurking ahead. But out of nowhere, Luo Tianyang, who was trailing behind, started relentlessly whipping them with a lash. He struck them while yelling, "Why the hell are you guys moving so slow? Stop dragging your feet like little girls and move it. Don't you want your reward anymore?" Driven by Luo Tianyang's threats, the group picked up their pace. Eventually, they arrived at a massive river with absolutely no way to cross. Seeing this, Luo Tianyang tossed a few items from his hand into the water. The moment they touched the surface, they instantly transformed into large, inflatable boats. Looking at this, Han Sen realized they had planned this all along. He couldn't help but wonder, what on earth was waiting for them on the other side? What was even stranger was that Son of Heaven and his inner circle didn't even bother getting on the boats. But before Han Sen could think any further, the water's surface suddenly began to violently ripple. Deep from beneath the waves, a colossal creature suddenly surged upward, sending violent tremors that nearly flipped the inflatable boats. Standing safely on the shore, Son of Heaven wore a smug, arrogant grin. "So, you've finally shown yourself, Blood Crystal Black-Scaled Serpent." The sudden appearance of the Blood Crystal Black-Scaled Serpent immediately claimed several lives. Han Sen knew right then and there that the bastard Son of Heaven was up to no good. He was clearly using them as live bait to lure out the beast. The other boats that hadn't capsized yet immediately turned around and tried to flee in panic. But up on the shore, Son of Heaven drew his sword and slashed through the air. While, "Block their escape. You bunch of trash. You think you can just grab the cash and run? Anyone who dares run, I will personally chop you to pieces," he roared. The mercenaries were completely cut off, unable to make it to shore. Left with no choice and trapped in a corner, they tried to negotiate with Son of Heaven. "If that is how it is, if we manage to hold out until the very end, you have to give us a cut of the profits." Hearing this, Han Sen could only call them idiots in his head. These guys were truly blinded by greed. They were clearly being used as shields, while Son of Heaven and his gang watched the show from the safety of the shore. There was no way they were getting a single cent of those profits. He was literally leading everyone straight to their deaths. Son of Heaven wanted to feed those people to the beast, exhausting its strength so he and his men could cross the river safely. Han Sen despised this guy to the absolute core. Having just made his fortune, there was no way Han Sen was going to throw his life away over some stupid nonsense like this. Han Sen paddled as fast as he could, but he was no match for the speed of the Blood Crystal Black-Scaled Serpent. In an instant, his inflatable boat was flipped over. The moment he plunged into the water, Han Sen immediately summoned his black beetle armor. He could not do that earlier, because with so many eyes on him, his secret identity as Dollar would have been exposed. But once he was underwater, he was completely in the clear. Han Sen swam away like a speedboat, but the others were not nearly as lucky. Out of 34 people, only 7 were left, barely clinging to life. Seeing this, Luo Tianyang wore a satisfied smirk. Son of Heaven, that blood crystal black-scaled serpent looks like it has had its fill. If we cross now, we should not face much danger. Without a shred of remorse for their horrific actions, the entire group began to make their way across the river. On the other side of the shore, Son of Heaven found exactly what he came for: 2 sacred blood creature eggs. Just thinking about how his sacred geno points were about to skyrocket had him grinning from ear to ear. They wanted to snatch the eggs and make a quick getaway. But the blood crystal black-scaled serpent was not about to let humans touch its offspring so easily. It rose from the riverbed once again, and Son of Heaven drew his sword to charge forward. Right behind him, Luo Tianyang and the rest of his lackeys rushed to provide cover. They threw 2 unfortunate mercenaries straight into the monster's mouth and made their escape. Son of Heaven thought he was home free, but he did not expect Han Sen to block his path during his escape. To be precise, it was Han Sen disguised as Dollar who cut him off. Son of Heaven was so overjoyed clutching those sacred blood creature eggs that his eyes were practically shut with glee, and while he was completely off guard, Han Sen ambushed him with a punch right to the face, leaving him dazed. Han Sen snatched the 2 eggs and bolted. Once again, Son of Heaven had been robbed right under his nose, and there was nothing he could do but scream curses in rage. On the other hand, Han Sen was absolutely thrilled. Even though he had barely escaped the river monster, he never expected to walk away with such a massive jackpot. However, during his escape, Han Sen was blocked by another giant serpent. It turned out that blood crystal black-scaled serpent was not the only one. With a monster blocking his path ahead and Son of Heaven's gang hot on his heels from behind, Han Sen was cornered once again. Suddenly, a wicked idea popped into his head. Han Sen squeezed and cracked one of the eggs before tossing it straight to Son of Heaven. Catch! 1 for each of us. Let us put our grudge aside and team up to deal with this serpent first. Son of Heaven instinctively caught the egg, but he had absolutely no intention of teaming up. All he wanted was Han Sen's head on a platter. Blinded by sheer hatred, Son of Heaven did not even realize the egg was cracked until Luo Tianyang pointed it out. But right at that moment, the giant serpent went into a frenzy and lunged straight at him. Son of Heaven had to focus all his strength on defending himself, and Han Sen used that window to make a clean escape. He returned to the steel armor shelter in high spirits. Dollar had stolen 2 sacred blood beast souls from Son of Heaven, and anyone with half a brain could guess just how furiously mad he would be. After eating that egg, Han Sen's sacred geno points rose to 13, making him incredibly strong right now. But the moment he stepped back into the steel armor shelter, Han Sen had to face his next headache. Qin Xuan. You hid pretty well, didn't you? Disappearing for half a month. Did you really think I was just going to let you off? Having trailed Son of Heaven and his crew for nearly 2 weeks, Han Sen had completely forgotten that Qin Xuan promised to settle the score once he returned to the shelter. The moment he saw Qin Xuan, Han Sen's face went completely pale. He originally thought she would drag him in front of a crowd to beat and scold him, but surprisingly, she proved to be quite a sport. Qin Xuan dragged Han Sen straight to the combat arena, where the 2 of them would go one-on-one. If Han Sen won, Qin Xuan promised she would never come looking for trouble with him again. But Han Sen felt that this deal was clearly not in his favor. Qin Xuan's sacred geno points were almost maxed out. She had undergone military training for so long, and she possessed countless high-grade beast souls. Asking him to fight her was basically telling him to raise his hands and surrender. Neither of us will use beast souls. During the fight, if you can survive 50 of my moves, we'll call it even. Since that sounded fair enough, Han Sen agreed. He refused to believe he couldn't even block 50 moves from a girl. Qin Xuan stepped back and took a stance, saying, "You can make the first move." But before she could even finish her sentence, Han Sen lunged forward and threw a straight punch right at her face. Talk about zero chivalry, hitting a girl right in the face. Qin Xuan stumbled back a few steps and yelled, "You lowlife!" Seeing her in such an embarrassing state, Han Sen panicked and quickly apologized. Honestly, he just wanted to get this over with and leave, which is why he acted so fast. She wasn't even fully prepared yet. Qin Xuan wiped the blood from her nose and stood up straight to speak. But before she could even curse him out, Han Sen served her another solid punch. This time, it definitely wasn't an accident. A golden opportunity like that had to be seized, after all. Qin Xuan's fury reached its boiling point. She lunged at Han Sen and unleashed a relentless barrage of kicks and punches. The strength of someone with military training is truly on another level. Plus, being blindsided twice by Han Sen's sneak attacks only drove Qin Xuan further up the wall. She beat him so hard that Han Sen was crying and begging for mercy. In the end, Han Sen took the full brunt of all 50 of Qin Xuan's moves. She didn't hold back at all, so when he got home, his face was swollen and covered in black and blue bruises. This fight made Han Sen realize his strength was still nothing more than an ant's. It looked like he still needed to train harder to become much stronger. As for Qin Xuan, getting her revenge put her in a slightly better mood. Still, she couldn't stop thinking about those 2 punches. After taking a shower, she went to review the video recording of the fight. To her, Han Sen's hand-to-hand combat skills and close-quarters techniques were absolute garbage. However, the raw, explosive power behind those 2 punches completely caught her off guard. During those moments, Han Sen had struck without a single shred of hesitation, almost like an assassin throwing everything they had into a fatal blow. This made it impossible for Qin Xuan to connect him with the usual clueless, idiotic Han Sen. Always playing dumb, then suddenly going for a one-hit kill? He's just a student who graduated not long ago. How could he possibly be an assassin? Were his moves natural talent, or was he trained? Qin Xuan was deeply curious. But regardless of the truth, in her eyes, Han Sen was still a low-life pervert who harassed women, and she swore she would never forgive him. After a good night's sleep, Han Sen decided to sign up for some extra training classes. He went to a training center. Here, the courses were divided into beginner, intermediate, advanced, and special classes. They taught hand-to-hand combat, weapons, soft and hard martial arts, and even hyper-geno arts. After thinking it over, Han Sen decided to sign up for the Ghost Haunt class. The owner of the center sized him up for a moment, before asking skeptically, "This isn't your average high-level martial art. Are your physical fitness levels up to mark? Don't worry. Here's $1 million, card payment," Han Sen said, pulling out his card and handing it over. In reality, after practicing Jadeskin, his body had become much stronger and far more agile than before. Years ago, Han Sen's father had mentioned Ghost Hunt, saying it was extremely effective when dealing with women. That was exactly why he chose this course, hoping the training would help him deal with Qin Xuan. But once the manual was in his hands, Han Sen realized with a shock that he had just flushed $1 million down the toilet. The old instructor taught things like how to cling onto women, how to lock them down, and how to hug them. It was unbelievably shameless. If Han Sen actually used these moves on Qin Xuan, she would only think he was an even more disgusting creep. But then again, $1 million was no small sum. So, Han Sen decided to learn it anyway. "Qin Xuan, you'd better not mess with me in the future, otherwise I'll definitely use you for some hands-on practice." Han Sen spent several days at the center practicing Ghost Hunt. When he returned to his room, he felt like a total pervert, only hoping that it would actually prove useful in the future. He was in a terrible mood, but his spirits lifted instantly when he saw that his copper-toothed beast had evolved into a mutant creature. He would keep feeding it until it became a sacred blood copper-toothed beast. Moreover, Son of Heaven and his gang had given up searching for Dollar, likely due to a lack of clues. For Han Sen, this was fantastic news, meaning he could move around freely. With everything settling down, he finally started examining the mutant beast soul he had snatched from Qin Xuan. However, this beast soul was much smaller than he had imagined. While most beast souls took the form of weapons, the one Qin Xuan gave Han Sen was actually a pet. The problem was, this black cat was tiny, and he had no idea if it even possessed any combat power. Han Sen wanted to test it out, so he ordered the three-eyed cat to face off against a three-horned scaled beast in front of him. His pet charged forward eagerly, but before it could even land a strike, it was swatted right back by the three-horned scaled beast. The test was an absolute failure. It was clear that even though it was a mutant pet, it was completely useless. Actually, it did have some use, but only knowing how to meow and act cute. Han Sen realized he'd been completely played by Qin Xuan, but now wasn't the time to settle that score. For today's hunt, he had to rely on himself again. Over the next few days, Han Sen kept hunting, and of course, he still had to do all the heavy lifting on his own. That mutated, three-eyed black cat was completely useless. To make matters worse, it even ate more than he did. Normally, beast souls didn't need to eat or drink. If they got injured, you just had to recall them to your storage space to rest for a bit, and they'd heal automatically. Still, while this cat was zero help with hunting, it did keep Han Sen entertained. So, He decided to keep it and named it Meow Lord. But right as Han Sen and Meow Lord were enjoying some freshly grilled beast meat, a desperate cry for help suddenly echoed in the distance. It was another hunter. The moment Han Sen saw what was chasing the guy, he didn't hesitate to turn around and bolt as fast as his legs could carry him. The man desperately pleaded with him, saying, "Brother, please don't run, I can pay you. Just name your price and it's yours." It sounded like a sweet deal, but Han Sen wasn't stupid. The creatures chasing that guy were fierce young beasts. Just one of them could stomp him to a pulp, and there was a whole herd of them over there. Han Sen ran to a massive cliff, quickly grabbed onto some vines, and climbed his way up to safety. The man begged Han Sen to pull him up. Han Sen decided to show some mercy and managed to pull him up to the ledge. Just as they made it, the herd of fierce young beasts arrived below, leaving both of them panting heavily from exhaustion. Even though they were safe for now, they had to wait until the beasts cleared out before they could head back down. "Hey man, what kind of crazy stunt did you pull to get a herd of over 100 fierce young beasts hunting you down like this?" The man pulled out a pack of cigarettes, lit one, and offered one to Han Sen. At a single glance, Han Sen could tell the brand was incredibly expensive, indicating this guy was loaded. He accepted the cigarette and lit up. "I was in a rush to get somewhere, but my beast soul got destroyed. I was so starving I thought I was going to die, so I went looking for a baby fierce young beast. By the way, brother, what should I call you?" Han Sen introduced himself, and the guy introduced himself as Lin Beifeng. He then asked how far it was from here to Glory Shelter. "If you're asking about Steel Armor Shelter, it takes about a few days to get there, but as for Glory Shelter, I've never heard of it." Hearing Han Sen's reply, the guy looked completely shocked. It seemed like he had accidentally wandered into the territory of another shelter. He then reassured Han Sen, promising that once they got back to a shelter, he would pay him back every single cent. "Well, before that, we'll have to enjoy each other's company," Han Sen said, looking down at the herd of fierce yun beasts, which showed no signs of leaving. Lin Beifeng chuckled awkwardly, then asked Han Sen if he had any food or water. His hunt had been a disaster, and he hadn't had a single bite to eat. Han Sen pulled out a cup of water and a piece of jerky. $10,000 for a cup of water, and $10,000 for a piece of jerky. Lin Beifeng looked a bit taken aback by the ridiculously high prices, but Han Sen didn't feel guilty at all. After all, it was a classic case of supply and demand. Lin Beifeng sheepishly asked to put it on tab. He promised to pay 4 times the amount once they returned to the shelter. And just like that, they spent several days eating and sleeping on the cliff. The fierce yun beasts were incredibly stubborn, and not a single one had left. Lin Beifeng was starting to lose patience, but Han Sen was the one who was truly worried. The food and water he brought would only last a couple more days. If things kept going like this, they would starve to death. So, he came up with a plan to climb to the very peak of the mountain and find a way down the other side. Han Sen was far more agile than Lin Beifeng, so he volunteered to go scout ahead. "Brother Sen, be careful, don't leave me behind." Eventually, Han Sen made it to the top. In his wildest dreams, he never thought the first time he'd use ghost haunting would be to scale a vertical cliff. Still, the experience was quite thrilling, but once he got to the top, Han Sen spotted a massive egg sitting there. A shiver ran down his spine. Just what kind of creature could lay an egg this gigantic? Any creature that could build a nest suspended in midair like this was definitely a big deal. For all he knew, it could be a sacred blood creature. Han Sen poked a small hole in the shell and started sipping. It turned out to be the egg of a dire-wined divine bird. However, just drinking the egg fluid wouldn't grant him sacred Geno points. He had to eat its flesh to gain even a single sacred point. Overjoyed, Han Sen quickly chugged down the entire egg before the mother bird could return. Down below, the herd of fierce young beasts had finally started to scatter, and Lin Beifeng let out a huge sigh of relief. Right at that moment, Han Sen climbed back down. Seeing Han Sen's stomach suddenly bulging out, Lin Beifeng blurted out something incredibly stupid. "Brother Sen, did you get pregnant?" Han Sen was completely speechless, so he just explained how he had stumbled upon a dire-wine divine bird's egg. He had even saved a cup of the egg fluid for Lin Beifeng. Already starving and presented with a sacred blood egg, Lin Beifeng certainly wasn't going to turn it down. He chugged the whole thing in one gulp. "So, I wasn't lying, was I? It's a bit of a shame I didn't get any sacred points from it though." Lin Beifeng drank. After gulping down the entire stormbird egg, he grabbed Han Sen's hands and shook them frantically, repeatedly calling him a good guy. Sharing a sacred blood creature's egg with him was incredibly touching. Lin Beifeng just couldn't stop going on and on about it. He promised that once they returned, he would repay Han Sen tenfold, whether in money or whatever else he wanted. Seeing him so fired up, Han Sen couldn't help but give him a heads up. Young Master Lin, my reputation back at Steel Armor Shelter isn't exactly the best. It might be better for you to keep your distance. Who do you take me for? Lin Beifeng shot back immediately. You saved my life, and you're an upright guy. How could I be so ungrateful? If anyone dares to disrespect you, I'll teach them a lesson they'll never forget. Seeing that Lin Beifeng was about to literally pounce on him, Han Sen quickly spoke up. Fine, we'll talk about it after we get back. Then, one of them headed back to Steel Armor Shelter, while the other returned to Glory Shelter. Actually, Han Sen quite liked Lin Beifeng's straightforward personality and felt he was someone worth befriending. As he stepped out of the teleport station, he was still feeling pretty good about the great haul he got from the hunt, only to run straight into Qin Xuan. It seemed like she had been waiting for him, but Han Sen decided to play dumb. Station Master Qin, what a coincidence. Follow me, Qin Xuan ordered. But since he had learned Ghost Haunt, Han Sen wasn't really intimidated by her anymore. So, he tag-teamed along. Feeling totally relaxed, he followed her right back to the combat room. Even though he had no clue why this lady was throwing a tantrum again, Han Sen was determined to make good use of the Ghost Haunt skill that had cost him $1 million. Without even saying start, Qin Xuan immediately launched a kick. Luckily, Han Sen dodged it, though it definitely startled him. Station Master Qin, why did you attack before even calling start? I learned it from you, she shot back. Don't you always jump people when they least expect it? It looked like Qin Xuan was dead set on beating Han Sen to a pulp this time around. But Han Sen caught her next kick. He grabbed her thigh in a tight lock and slammed her hard onto the ground. Station Master Qin, does this count as my win? Han Sen asked, feeling incredibly smug. Ghost Haunt really was the perfect counter against women. Just as expected, Qin Xuan immediately lost her mind and screamed at him for being a shameless bastard. Fuming with rage, she snapped and summoned her beast soul. Qin Xuan's beast soul was a fire lion, and there was no way Han Sen could go toe-to-toe with that. So, he took off running. You're breaking the rules. Didn't we agree no beast souls? No matter how much he screamed, Qin Xuan had no intention of stopping. Her rage looked intense enough to tear down the entire Steel Armor Shelter. Unsurprisingly, Han Sen lost this round. Even though Qin Xuan had cheated, he was still completely outclassed in physical strength, martial skills, close combat technique, and experience. Han Sen had thought he'd gotten a lot stronger, but when facing absolute power, he was still too weak. Meanwhile, Qin Xuan wasn't feeling any better either, because Han Sen had actually forced her to use her beast soul, proving he had grown much stronger since their last fight. Over the next few days, Qin Xuan dragged Han Sen to the combat room daily. Although he didn't understand her motives, Han Sen actually quite enjoyed sparring with such a beautiful lady. Conveniently, he also wanted to polish his own combat skills. But after every session, his whole body would be completely sore. Qin Xuan was gorgeous, but she didn't have a single gentle bone in her body. Brother Sen, long time no see? Walking out of the combat room today, Han Sen ran straight into a familiar face, Shui Shi. She was the girl who had hung out with him and Zhang Danfeng's group. Just like Han Hao, Shui Shi was finally old enough to enter the shelter. So her showing up here was completely normal. Before they could even exchange 3 sentences, a luxury car suddenly pulled up. A tall, handsome guy stepped out of the car. Little sister, didn't I tell you? You should only teleport from inside our house. If you use the public teleport station, you're bound to get harassed by some losers. Realizing her brother assumed Han Sen was a harasser, Shui Shi quickly tried to explain. Fourth brother, don't get the wrong idea. This is Han Sen, my childhood friend. Seeing that this was Shui Shi's brother, Han Sen politely greeted him and offered a handshake. But the man didn't just refuse. He also threw some incredibly harsh words his way. Someone like you has no right to be friends with my sister. Stop hovering around her. Otherwise, don't blame me for getting rough. Shui Shi looked extremely awkward due to her brother's rude behavior, and Han Sen was far from pleased about being treated like a pest the very first time they met. Are you talking to me? Looks like you didn't listen to a word I said, huh? Shui Shi's brother, Fang Jingqi, sneered, then suddenly lunged forward. Han Sen realized the guy was trying to engage in close combat. The thing is, Ghost Haunt was basically the holy grail of close-quarter fighting. Ever since he'd mastered it, even Qin Xuan didn't dare to get into a close-quarters brawl with him. Yet here this guy was practically begging for a beating. Han Sen gracefully dodged the kick, then lunged forward. Stepping forward, he grabbed the guy by the collar with both hands and slammed his massive body onto the ground with everything he had. Shui Shi's brother couldn't help but curse under his breath, while Han Sen looked extremely pleased with himself for teaching the guy a lesson. It's just a little greeting between men. You're so big and strong, I'm sure you'll be just fine, right? Han Sen didn't linger any longer. Before taking off, he made sure to say goodbye to Shui Shi and mentioned they should grab a bite together sometime. It was just casual, polite talk, but Shui Shi's brother took it very seriously. Since he gave me such a special greeting gift, it would be rude not to return the favor. Shu Shi, invite your friend over for dinner in a few days. By now, Han Sen had returned to his room back at the steel armor shelter. With Qin Xuan constantly on his case lately, he hadn't had any time to hunt in the mountains, making his income take a serious hit. So, Han Sen started browsing for side jobs on the Polar Night Forum. Even though it wasn't an official site, it was a great place to trade information and essential supplies. The forum had a huge following, and the very first thing that caught Han Sen's eye was Lin Baifeng's name. He couldn't believe the guy was actually using his real name to do business. Lin Baifeng was offering top dollar on the forum to buy beast souls and mutant creature flesh. But items like that were incredibly rare and hard to come by, so Han Sen couldn't help him there. Then he came across another job posting looking for someone capable of single-handedly taking down 10 primitive creatures to keep the clients safe. Basically, it was a babysitting gig for a bunch of spoiled rookies with zero hunting experience. This kind of work wasn't hard, but it was a massive pain. Han Sen wasn't thrilled about it, but the pay was 10,000 yuan a day. A half-month trip would bring in a solid 150,000 yuan. Since he was always down to make a quick buck, he applied for the job right away. With his employment sorted out, Han Sen turned his attention to finding a suitable weapon. After all, his bronze crescent spear had been completely ruined by that strange guy he fought last time. Han Sen quickly tracked down a Black Vader semi-alloy bow and alloy arrows. He honestly didn't expect to find such high-quality gear on a sketchy forum like this. What made it special was that this bow set dealt massive damage and normally went for at least 2 million yuan. But the post had been sitting on the forum for a while with no buyers. This Black Vader bow was actually none other than Doomsday. In retail stores, this was a premium item costing up to 6,680,000 yuan with a maximum range of 800 meters. Paired with alloy arrows, it could easily pierce through steel armor from 300 meters away. The only catch was that you needed an alliance strength rating of 7.0 or higher just to draw Doomsday, but thanks to his Jadeskin art, Han Sen had already pushed his rating to 8.0. Since he had spent a lot of time practicing archery, he immediately fell in love with this weapon. The only issue was that he was currently short on cash, so he had to be smart about the price. Han Sen messaged the seller offering 1 million yuan, but didn't get an immediate reply. Just as he was starting to worry that his offer was way too low, a message popped up. The seller accepted the offer without hesitation and sent over a trade link. Han Sen was absolutely thrilled. The very next day, his package arrived. After unboxing his brand new gear, Han Sen couldn't wait to test its raw power. The Black Vader bow certainly did not disappoint. A single shot felt powerful enough to change the course of a battle. With this weapon in his hands, Han Sen felt incredibly secure. Next time he faced the Son of Heaven or a sacred blood creature, he wouldn't have to risk his life fighting them up close. Over the next 3 days, Han Sen bought 20 thunder-attributed alloy arrows and 20 lightweight alloy arrows. Plus the 6 arrows that came with the bow, he now had more than enough firepower to hold his own out there. He headed over to the interview location, only to find a massive crowd already waiting for him. Han Sen was completely caught off guard. He had assumed he was the only one they were interviewing. A big crowd meant drama, and Han Sen was already starting to regret showing up. As he was debating whether to turn around and head home, a few guys in the crowd spotted him. "Hey, look, isn't that Qin Xuan's famous butt stabber? With that bow and arrow on his back, he actually looks the part. Don't tell me you're here to apply for the bodyguard job for the young masters too? Honestly, I think the young masters are the ones who'll end up protecting him. Haha." While the crowd was busy laughing at him, Han Sen noticed Han Hao standing a short distance away, glaring at him with pure hatred. Han Sen kept his expression completely blank, calmly staring right back at the crowd. Young Master Yuan walked up with an arrogant smirk and asked, "So, you're the infamous butt stabber?" Without showing a shred of embarrassment, Han Sen calmly replied, "If you don't think I'm the right fit, I can walk out right now." But young Master Yuan insisted on keeping him for protection. Seeing this, young Master Qing tried to talk him out of it, saying, "Come on, Yuan, the guy is literally known as the butt stabber." The other applicants quickly chimed in to agree. "Exactly, young Master Yuan. Letting a guy like him protect you? He's completely useless. What happens if you guys actually run into real danger? He runs faster than any of you, that's for sure." No matter how much they protested, young Master Yuan wouldn't change his mind. "I've made my choice. You guys can hire a few more on top of him. Here's your contract." Han Sen took the papers. After that, he quickly signed his name on the dotted line. Out of nowhere, Zhang Danfeng swaggered by, intentionally shoulder-checking him with a look of pure contempt. He sneered, "Hey ass freak, you've got some crazy luck, getting to serve a young master who's both loaded and nice." Completely unfazed, Han Sen calmly replied, "My luck's always been pretty good." Deep in the forest, a sudden gust of wind whipped through, violently shaking the trees. Yet, the group continued walking calmly through the quiet woods. Suddenly, Zhang Danfeng pointed ahead and shouted, "Look! There's a primitive creature over there." Following his finger, they saw a dark shadow darting past the trees. Instantly, the entire group rushed after it, screaming, "Hurry up! Over here! Catch it and protect the young master." Meanwhile, a hand gently reached for the arrows on his back. Without hesitation, Han Sen loosed an arrow. The shot slammed straight into a nearby tree, leaving everyone utterly confused. "Hey, loser, what the heck are you aiming at?" After letting the arrow fly, Han Sen muttered to himself, "Man, this doomsday bow is really something else, but I just need to put a little more muscle into it." Right then, Zhang Danfeng sauntered over, mocking him. "Did you forget you can't even hit a target within 10 yards? How do you have the guts to escort young Master Yuan?" Han Sen simply replied, "I'm just practicing." Hearing this, the guy scoffed with utter disgust. "You? Practicing with a pathetic skill level like yours? Don't embarrass yourself." Just then, Han Hao walked up out of nowhere and snapped at Han Sen. "Do me a favor, and don't tell anyone you know me." A little while later, the group arrived at a cave and found themselves facing down some beasts. Han Sen kept his distance, watching everything unfold from a high vantage point. Young Master Yuan stared at the creatures ahead, his eyes gleaming with excitement. "Nice. 3 primitive black-spotted beasts. You guys don't need to step in, we'll handle this ourselves." The escorts nodded and replied, "All right then, just be careful." Without a moment's hesitation, the young master charged forward, hacking away at the beasts with absolute enthusiasm. Watching from above, Han Sen looked on with a satisfied nod. Actually, these rich kids have a lot of potential, they just need someone to watch their backs in the beginning. Though they were seriously lacking experience, after a few days of training, they had improved a lot, easily taking down the primitive creatures. Moments later, the primitive beasts collapsed to the ground, dead. A voice whispered in awe, "Man, kids from the elite academy really are built different. Their starting point is way higher than someone like me, who only finished compulsory education." On the other side, young Master Qing looked down at the beasts he had slain and burst into a triumphant laugh. "It's over. Look at what we just did." But suddenly, one of the beasts that wasn't actually dead snapped its eyes open and lunged straight at young Master Qing. Hearing the sudden commotion, Han Hao, Zhang Danfeng, and another guard whipped around, their faces pale with shock. Young Master Yuan gasped in horror as he watched his friend get ambushed, while young Master Qing shrieked in sheer terror. "Yuan, help!" Suddenly, an arrow whistled through the air, piercing right through the beast's skull and dropping it instantly, leaving young Master Qing completely dumbfounded. Only then did the surrounding guards rush forward, kicking the dead body and cursing, "Damn it, you dared to play dead? Go to hell, die, you piece of trash." Meanwhile, young Master Yuan rushed over to pull his friend up, asking anxiously, "Qing, are you okay?" Young Master Qing let out a massive sigh of relief. "I'm fine." But that scared the absolute crap out of me. Suddenly, Zhang Danfeng barked loudly at Han Sen. "Hey, ass freak! What the hell do you think you're doing, firing arrows all over the place? You almost hit young Master Qing." Han Hao immediately chimed in. "Exactly. Do you have any idea how dangerous that was?" As Han Sen calmly stared them down, a furious voice boomed out. "Get lost!" Zhang Danfeng stepped right into Han Sen's face, sneering. "Did you hear that? Ass freak, young Master Yuan told you to beat it." But it seemed he had completely misread the situation. Young Master Yuan grabbed him by the collar and roared with pure rage. "I said for you guys to get lost." Pointing an angry finger at Han Hao's group, he yelled, "I paid good money to hire you losers to keep us safe. When Qing was in danger just now, What the hell did you do? He didn't hold back at all. You did absolutely nothing. Not a single one of you reacted. And now you're blaming the only guy who actually did his job? You're all pathetic. Get out of my sight and don't let me ever see your faces again. Zhang Danfeng spat back defiantly. Fine, young Master Yuan. If you want us to beat it, we will. But according to the contract, you're the one breaching the terms. You have to pay us the rest of our money. Young Master Yuan hurled the money straight at them and spat. Take it and get lost, you useless trash. Watching them leave, Han Sen simply waved and said, bye now. Zhang Danfeng let out a bitter, furious snort. Just you wait. After they left, young Master Qing walked up to thank Han Sen. Ass. I mean, thank you for saving my life back there. Han Sen shrugged and replied, don't worry about it, I'm just glad you're not hurt. By now, young Master Yuan's attitude toward him had completely shifted. Looking at the contract, he realized his name was Han Sen, the guy who could draw the Doomsday Bow from the Black Vader series. To do that, his strength had to be at least a 7.0 on the Alliance scale. Young Master Qing gasped in sheer admiration. A 7.0? That's insane. But young Master Yuan had a sharp eye. Thinking back to Han Sen's movements, he pondered. Actually, my estimation is still too low. Just now, his aim. On his very first try, his strength was nearly 8.0, so he immediately wanted to be friends with Han Sen. Brother Sen, let's be friends. If I make any mistakes in the future, please look out for me. He shook hands and became friends with him. Young Master Yuan, you are too humble. You hired me in the first place because you recognized the Doomsday Soul. In his heart, he actually respected young Master Yuan, a bit a rich kid, but with good taste. An ordinary boss would have a hard time recognizing it. The next day, at the entrance of the shelter, a crowd of people was coming and going. Han Sen had just returned when he was blocked at the entrance. Zhang Danfeng was still bitter about what happened that day and wanted to pick a fight with him. You're finally back, ass freak. Because of you, I couldn't make a living. I'm pissed off. Without hesitation, Zhang Danfeng lunged to attack Han Sen. You dared to ruin my livelihood. I'm going to teach you a lesson. Otherwise, you'll think you're above everyone. Han Hao, blending in with the crowd, saw this and could only think, stupid Han Sen. I can't help you with the trouble you caused. However, reality didn't match his expectations. Han Sen easily dodged Zhang Danfeng's attack. This startled Zhang Danfeng. What? He vanished out of nowhere. Suddenly, a hand grabbed the hand holding his dagger. Han Sen pinned him to the ground and easily snatched the dagger from his grip, making him cry out, Arg, my hand! This scene left Han Hao completely bewildered. What's going on? He's too fast, almost like he disappeared. I couldn't even see how he did it. Not only was he shocked, but his crew was equally stunned. What? Ass freak took down Zhang Danfeng? No way. Zhang Danfeng's physical fitness has reached 6.7. Even with his hand pinned, Zhang Danfeng still shrieked. What are you idiots standing around for? Chop this bastard to pieces. Finding him too noisy, Han Sen deliberately twisted his arm and warned coldly, You talk too much. Zhang Danfeng's lackeys were truly fearless, boldly lunging forward to attack him. Kill him, everyone. As several slashes came flying at him, Han Sen calmly swung his dagger, filled with lethal intent. With every swing, he broke their swords, leaving them dumbfounded. What on earth is this? Even he couldn't help but marvel at the dagger's sharpness. A high-grade alloy dagger. I can't believe Zhang Danfeng had something this good. A dagger like this isn't cheap. It must cost at least 1 million yuan or more. He was quite satisfied. Nice. Just what I needed. As for Han Hao, he was still frozen in shock. Is this really the Han Sen I used to know? He stared at Han Sen examining the dagger, his mind in a chaotic mess. Didn't he spend all his time hunting black beetles? Couldn't he not even kill primitive creatures? He was weaker than me, so why? Meanwhile, regarding Zhang Danfeng, Han Sen intended to keep the dagger for himself. Zhang Danfeng, having such a good item on you is a total waste. So, I'll take it off your hands. It's mine now. Having secured the prize, he turned around and walked away. As he was walking, a sudden shout made him stop in his tracks. It turned out to be none other than Luo Tianyang. He was riding a horse, blocking his path. Ass freak, you've got some nerve, messing with my men. Seeing his savior arrive, Zhang Danfeng immediately ranted. Brother Luo, he didn't just break my arm, he stole my dagger too. You have to get justice for me. His brainless teammates' whining only angered Luo Tianyang, who snapped, "Useless trash, you're making me look bad." Right after speaking, he swiftly pulled out his whip, intending to teach Han Sen a lesson. "You lunatic. Today, I'm going to show you exactly how you're going to die." Without a shred of fear, Han Sen used his newly acquired dagger to defend himself. As he dodged, he couldn't help but marvel. So strong. They say his physical fitness is 9.6, and they weren't lying. Luo Tianyang himself was surprised that Han Sen could match him. He actually dodged that? Since when did this piece of trash get so strong? This made him decide to finish Han Sen off. "No, I can't let him live." Raising his whip high, he bellowed, "You must be tired of living." However, before he could strike, Han Sen aimed an arrow straight at him. This sent a wave of terror through him. What? Even Han Hao's jaw dropped in disbelief. Han Sen, he actually dares to stand up to Luo Tianyang? Zhang Danfeng's gang never expected this move from Han Sen either. Has this ass freak lost his mind? That's brother Luo, a follower of the Son of Heaven. On Han Sen's end, it was no walk in the park either. Holding this drawing stance drained a massive amount of stamina. But right now, I can't show any weakness. If Luo Tianyang dares to make a move, I'll kill him with a single arrow. Suddenly, Qin Xuan appeared out of nowhere and commanded, "Han Sen, lower your arrow." Her presence made him wonder. "Qin Xuan, why is she here?" Qin Xuan then turned to Luo Tianyang and snapped furiously, "Luo Tianyang, you too, put away your whip." Her sharp words made Han Sen look over, and soon both of them lowered their weapons. Luo Tianyang was the first to complain, "But Sister Qin, this ass freak once harassed you, and today, he actually dared to attack me. I have to kill him." Without a single word, Qin Xuan suddenly struck, hitting his hand directly, holding his whip. This strike from her sent him crashing to the ground, prompting his teammates to run over in panic. Brother Luo, are you okay?" Meanwhile, she turned to warn him, "I will discipline my own people. I don't need an outsider like you sticking your nose in." Then she ordered Han Sen, "What are you just standing there for? Let's go," he muttered back. "Huh? Oh, okay." A moment later, the two of them left under Luo Tianyang's furious glare. His teammates began whispering among themselves. Qin Xuan said that ass freak is her man. Does she really like his type? Or does she just want to get even with him for that stab? Ignoring his gossiping teammates, Luo Tianyang swore in rage. "Damn it, I'm not letting this go so easily. Just you wait." Han Sen trudged behind Qin Xuan, but after hearing her proposal, he flatly refused. "Huh? You want me to join Bullseye?" "No way, I'm not going." But she argued that since he could draw the doomsday bow, his physical strength must be impressive. "You crossed Luo Tianyang today. Without my protection, do you really think he'll just let it slide?" However, he still stood his ground. "Station Master Qin, I appreciate your kindness, but I can handle my own business." But she kept trying to persuade him. "In this entire steel armor shelter, my Bullseye squad is one of a kind. It will give you a massive advantage when you apply for military schools in the future." Hearing this, he replied gloomily, "Who said I wanted to go to a military school? My physical fitness index can't even reach 10, which doesn't meet the requirements." But of course, she didn't believe him and even tried to provoke him. "Is that so? It might be impossible for an ordinary person, but for you, nothing is impossible." Qin Xuan's words left Han Sen wondering what she meant. She smirked triumphantly and replied, "Even though you don't look like much, you definitely have your strengths. I don't care how strong you are. To me, putting talented people to good use is always my top priority." Suddenly, he boldly asked her, "Put to good use? After everything I did to you in the past, aren't you still angry?" Just hearing him bring that up drove her crazy, and she warned him to watch his mouth if he dared mention it again. Once she calmed down, she reminded him that if he didn't go to a military school and didn't have an aristocratic title, by the time he reached the age of military service, he would end up as a regular soldier, sent straight to the front lines as cannon fodder. Hearing this, he smirked and retorted, "How do you know I can't get a high military rank?" Secretly, he proudly calculated that if he wanted to practice Jadeskin, he could use the black crystal to get higher-level genes and then secure a high military rank. He had already planned it all out. Suddenly, Qin Xuan angrily grabbed Han Sen by his collar and barked, "I said you can't, so you can't. Are you looking for a beating?" Seeing how fierce she was, he could only laugh sheepishly and yield. Okay, I get it. I'll join Bullseye." He played along on the outside, but inside, he was cursing her non-stop. Damn it, this woman has military connections. If she really wanted to make my life miserable, I'd have a hard time surviving. A while later, he returned home and flopped onto his bed, lost in thought. I haven't rested for days, I'm absolutely exhausted. Why is Qin Xuan so desperate to have me join Bullseye? What is she plotting? Suddenly, there was a knock on his door. Han Sen opened it and asked, Mom, is everything okay? Luo Sulan gently made a request. Sen, I'll be busy tomorrow. Can you take Yan to school? Hearing this, he smiled and asked, Oh, Yan is starting school already? Which school is it? She replied warmly. You've been so busy at the shelter lately. I didn't get a chance to tell you. I used the money you gave me last time to enroll her in St. Paul. Knowing his sister got into a great school, he was thrilled. Really? Aside from those elite schools for aristocrats, St. Paul is the best one on planet Roka. Go ahead and take care of your business, Mom. I'll take her to school tomorrow. Seeing that he agreed, she didn't say anything else. All right. Thank you, sweetie. The next day, Han Sen walked Han Yan to school. He gently advised her, Yan, I heard St. Paul has a wonderful environment. Make some good friends there, okay? The little girl shyly replied, I'm scared. I'm too shy. Hearing this, he gently patted her head and said, You'll be fine. Just be yourself, and you'll get along with everyone. If anyone tries to bully you, just call your big brother. His care made her beam with joy and reply, Yes, brother. A moment later, as they arrived at the gates of St. Paul Academy, Han Yan happened to spot some relatives from Han Lei's side. Is that my cousin, and is that second uncle over there? She asked innocently. He's carrying a little boy, and second aunt is standing right next to him, right? Han Sen replied with a sly grin. I don't know, but this might get interesting. Han Lei was leading his son into the academy when he happened to spot the two siblings. What are you two doing here? He replied in a firm voice, taking Yan to school. Hearing this, he angrily handed the child to the woman next to him and barked at Han Sen. St. Paul's tuition is extremely expensive, costing at least several $1,000,000. Your dad ran the company for so many years. He must have pocketed a fortune from it. He pointed his finger threateningly at Han Sen. Let me tell you, that money belongs to the Han family, and it must be divided equally. Otherwise, don't blame me for playing dirty. Unfazed, Han Sen let out a dangerous smirk and shot back. Second uncle, you haven't actually read the contract, have you? The contract is clear as day. The 2 million yuan has been fully paid, so don't you dare think you're getting another single penny out of our family. His words drove the man absolutely mad. He screamed, That was a scam. It doesn't count. Just wait, I'm going straight to your mother. He calmly warned him back. Second uncle, I wouldn't do that if I were you. I have every right to beat you to death. Han Lei's rage boiled over as he lunged forward to hit Han Sen, yelling, Kid, what the hell did you just say? Terrified, Han Yan shrieked, Don't hit my brother. Remaining perfectly calm, he easily caught the man's fist and effortlessly swept him off his feet, slamming him onto the ground. Then, his voice turning ice cold, he warned, Second uncle, if you're that tired of living, feel free to drop by my house and test your luck. Seeing her brother command such authority, Han Yan looked at him with pure admiration and said, Wow, you're amazing, brother. Witnessing this, the woman hurriedly scooped up her crying child to leave, soothing him. Don't worry, sweetie, don't be scared. Mommy will get you to school first, and then I'll call the cops to lock him up so he rots in prison. Suddenly, Han Sen crouched down and pulled out his mini camera, muttering, That woman is quite something, and the kid is pretty cute too. If second aunt sees this, I wonder what she'll do to you. Han Lei gasped in sheer panic. You recorded everything? Panicking, he lunged to snatch the camera, screaming, You lunatic! Delete that right now! But before he could even touch it, Han Sen caught his hand again. With a sly, devious smirk, Han Sen threatened him. Come on, we're family. Let's work something out. If you give me 2 million yuan, second uncle, I might just consider deleting this. Even cornered, the man tried to talk tough, snarling, In your dreams! Naturally, Han Sen wasn't about to give him a choice. He twisted the man's arm back and growled, Transfer the money. Right now. Left with absolutely no choice, the man whimpered, Fine, I'll do it. Just let go. Moments later, the transfer of 2 million yuan cleared. Once the money hit his account, Han Sen led Han Yan into the school, but not before delivering a final warning to Han Lei. Second uncle, I'll delete the video, but only when I'm in a good mood. Oh, and don't even think about coming to my house to cause trouble. or you'll pay dearly. Only after Han Sen had walked a safe distance away did the man finally find the courage to scream in fury, "Han Sen, you absolute bastard!" Nursing his throbbing wrist, Han Lei stared after him in utter shock, wondering when the boy had become so incredibly strong. It was as if he were looking at a completely different person. After seeing his little sister safely inside, Han Sen walked back down the street, lost in thought. Dealing with second uncle made Han Yan late for class. I wonder if I scared her back there. She seemed so quiet and hesitant afterward. Feeling a wave of guilt, he sighed and reminded himself to avoid using violence in front of Han Yan. After all, she was still way too young. As he walked, he happened to stop in front of a large building and decided to step inside. It was the fitness assessment center. I've been practicing the apocalypse body a few times recently. I wonder if my strength has actually gone up. Let's find out. Over in the lobby of the fitness assessment center for the unevolved, a young man was anxiously waiting for his turn. His name was Zhao Boshan. He paced back and forth nervously, muttering to himself, "Damn it, I really messed up my last run. I need to try again. I have to get at least an A rank evaluation." He pumped himself up, knowing that to ever become a starship captain, I have to keep pushing myself. You've got this. But when he saw the display light indicating the room was occupied, his face fell. Wait, someone's in there? And here I thought I picked a low-key, empty location. To pass the time, he decided to peek at the monitor to see who was using the room. But when he looked at the screen, his jaw dropped. Wait. What? Is he seriously using a beast soul to clear the robot gauntlet? He quickly ran the numbers in his head. For an unevolved human, reaching 60 meters was considered passing, 70 meters was satisfactory, 80 was excellent, 90 was advanced, and clearing 100 meters was downright legendary. Little did Zhao Boshan know, the guy he was watching on the screen was none other than Han Sen. Zhao Boshan thought, even on my best day, I only made it to 76 meters. This guy probably won't even break 80 meters, even with a beast soul. But inside the chamber, Han Sen was absolutely tearing through the training robots with ease. The sight left Zhao Boshan completely shell-shocked. No way. What? To make matters wilder, the scoreboard flashed a mind-boggling overall rating of S, with a clear time of just 7.88 seconds. Zhao Boshan stood there, entirely dumbfounded. There's no way he cleared it on his first try. And in that little time? This is insane. Who the heck is this guy? He's a monster. But when he looked back through the window to see who the mystery expert was, the room was completely empty. Damn it! He vanished in the blink of an eye. Where did he go? He stood there, completely frozen in utter disbelief. By the next day, the video of Han Sen's run was uploaded online, immediately taking the forums by storm. Did you guys see this? The thread is absolutely blowing up. 7.88 seconds. The Angel of Violence absolutely dominates the robotic gauntlet. Hoo-ha, isn't that the legendary dollar? Users online started buzzing with excitement. Yeah, that's definitely him. He's a total beast. But wait, didn't he steal a beast soul from the Son of Heaven? Pfft, without that beast soul, he'd be absolute garbage. He just got insanely lucky. Oh yeah? If you're so tough, why don't you try stealing one yourself, keyboard warrior? Meanwhile, at a luxurious seaside villa, a voice echoed through the house. Zhenliu, get over here, and look at this. Wiping the sweat from his forehead, Tang Zhenliu walked over and asked, "What's up, Lu Feng?" "I just finished training and was about to jump in the shower." The moment he saw the video, he gasped in shock. Holy crap, 7.8 seconds, S class? What kind of monster is this guy? Lin Feng spoke up to clarify. The person who posted the video didn't see his face, but according to the analysis, aside from sacred genes, his other gene stats are completely maxed out. On top of that, he believes this guy has trained in a hyper-geno art, and his armor is without a doubt a sacred blood beast soul. Hearing this, Tang Zhenliu brushed back his hair in curiosity. With everything maxed out like that, I want to know who he is right now. He then declared bitterly, I've waited so long for those freaks to move on to the second god's sanctuary. If this bastard dares to stand in my way of becoming the top ranker, I'll have to eliminate him. Lin Feng calmly reminded him, someone who has achieved all of this must have an extraordinary background. He might even be connected to the military. Do you really think you can afford to mess with him? Feeling a bit embarrassed by the reminder, Tang Zhenliu cleared his throat and replied, wasn't I just letting my anger get the best of me? Don't make it sound so serious. Lin Feng ignored him, still thinking about the person in the video. But I'm still really curious about his background. With that kind of power, he's bound to make a huge impact on the sanctuary. 2 days later, at the teleport station, Han Sen, the man behind that viral video, was walking with one of the station employees. As they walked, he grumbled to himself, "I've only been gone for a few days, and Qin Xuan already dragged me back. I'm supposed to be a grown man, but in front of her, I feel like a little boy." He recalled the day she called him back and scolded him, "Stop running off all the time. You're working under me now, so I have the right to know your whereabouts." At the time, he had argued back, "I wasn't running off. There was just some family stuff I had to take care of." Ignoring his explanation, she quickly cut him off. "Save your excuses. Go report to Yang Manli and join the archery squad." Hearing this, he immediately showed his reluctance. "Huh? I still have to do that? What a pain." Of course, she didn't care whether he liked it or not. She simply warned him, "I'm heading to the Starry group. You'd better have this done before I get back." Hearing this, he couldn't help but wonder, the Starry group? Isn't that Son of Heaven's family business? He silently wondered. His father's death was connected to them, so why was Qin Xuan working with them? Qin Xuan didn't answer his question, only turning around to demand, "Do you understand? My intention is for you to join the archery squad, got it? As long as you're under my wing, he won't dare touch you." Hearing this, he could only offer a weak smile and say, "Station Chief Qin, you're really too kind. Thank you." Back in the present, thinking about everything Qin Xuan had done for him, he confidently thought to himself, "She's protecting me. Could she actually have feelings for me? Well, I do have a sacred blood beast soul, a hyper-geno art, and my physical fitness is already at 9.1. Just then, the guide opened the door and ushered him in. "We've arrived." The moment he stepped inside, Han Sen greeted her. "Hello, Station Chief Qin sent me to report to you." Catching sight of him, young Manli asked, "So, you're Han Sen?" She said coldly, "You're 10 seconds late." Flustered, Han Sen quickly explained, I didn't mean to." Station Chief Qin pulled me aside and lectured me just now. Hearing this, young Manli asked, "Are you saying you're late because of Qin Xuan?" Naturally, she didn't buy his flimsy excuse. Arriving late and then shifting the blame onto someone else, he definitely deserved a good beating. She slid a form toward him and said, "Fill out this application." Without hesitating, he replied, "Sure." As he filled it out, he wondered, "What's with this woman? It's like she hates me, and I don't even know her." Suddenly, young Manli said in a sarcastic tone, "You must have some special qualities for her to take you in and trust you like this." However, instead of paying attention to her words, Han Sen was distracted by something he shouldn't have been looking at. Squad leader. "I can't fill this out if you keep sitting like that." He only thought it to himself, though. He quickly filled out the form and handed it back to her. "I'm done." She took it and ordered, "Tomorrow morning, 6 o'clock sharp. Meet at the archery squad's training camp in the sanctuary. Remember, I despise people who are late." Just as she was speaking, her communicator suddenly rang. Qin Xuan had called her, requesting, "Manli, come to my office right now and bring Han Sen with you." A moment later, they were all gathered in Qin Xuan's office, watching a video. She spoke in a serious tone as she introduced the video to Yang Manli. "Manli, take a look at this. This video is causing quite a stir on the forums right now." The moment Han Sen saw the video, his heart skipped a beat. "Wait, isn't that me at the physical test center? Who had nothing better to do than spend money to record me like this? Damn it, my identity is going to be exposed." But thank goodness, his identity was safe for now because young Manli still didn't realize the person in the video was him. She asked, "Dollar, right? His attack power is insane. Did no one see his face?" Of course, Qin Xuan didn't know his identity either, so she replied, "No, the person who recorded it only caught the test inside the robot channel." Hearing that neither of them knew who he was, he breathed a huge sigh of relief. "Oh man, that scared the crap out of me. Whew. What a close call." At this point, Qin Xuan began analyzing what she saw from the video. It's clear Dollar is wearing a beast soul armor, and he's definitely practicing some high-level hyper-geno art. So she jumped in with another crucial piece of news. The footage from that fitness testing center was actually recorded right here on our planet Roka. We need to find a way to track him down. He could be a massive help to us. Hearing this, Yang Manli chimed in with her own thoughts. Planet Roka doesn't have any famous major families or crazy powerful factions. I doubt a place like this could ever breed someone as monstrous as Dollar. But Qin Xuan didn't seem too bothered by that. She had only one goal in mind, and it was worth a shot anyway. If we get him on our side, Even if we clash with Son of Heaven later, as long as we team up, we'll easily be able to hunt down sacred blood creatures on our own. Hearing this, Han Sen finally realized what she was really after. Ah, I get it now. So that's her game. Last time Qin Xuan saved me from Luo Tianyang, she mentioned she was scouting for talents. She's clearly looking for some serious heavy hitters. So he quickly played dumb and said, "But I heard that guy's a lone wolf. There's no way he'd want to join a squad." But Qin Xuan wasn't worried at all. She had a secret weapon up her sleeve. "We've got Sister Manli's irresistible charm on our side." Yang Manli smirked and shot back, "I don't care. I'm just worried he's not even a real man." Hearing these two beauties talk like that made Han Sen turn pale, his mind immediately drifting to the gutter. Whoa, no way. These two women are absolutely devious. A bit later, back at his place in the shelter, Han Sen was checking on the beast he had locked up inside. Awesome. Just a little bit more, and this copper-toothed beast will evolve into a sacred blood creature. He was practically vibrating with excitement. All he had to do now was wait patiently for a few more days. The next day, Han Sen headed over to the Bullseye Squad's training ground to check things out. As he watched the crowd training, he spotted a familiar face. Oh, wait, isn't that Su Xiaoqiao? He immediately walked over to strike up a conversation. Xiaoqiao, you're in the Bullseye Squad too? Surprised that Han Sen knew him, he blinked and asked, "Ass freak, how do you know who I am?" The moment the words left his mouth, Han Sen realized he screwed up. He completely forgot he had only ever dealt with the guy as Dollar. Thinking fast, he quickly covered it up. "How could I not? You're the guy who first came up with the name Brother Dollar." Hearing that, Su Xiaoqiao let out a proud laugh. "Wow. Am I really that famous? Man, if I hadn't coined that name, Brother Dollar might not even be as famous as he is today, right?" After chatting a bit more, he turned to Han Sen and asked, "Anyway, man, why did you join Bullseye? The training here is absolute hell." Han Sen gave an honest shrug. "Well, I don't know about that, but archery keeps you at a safe distance. You don't have to risk your neck in close combat." Xiaoqiao nodded in agreement, but quickly added, "I thought so too, but you better watch out. That Yang Manli is a total sadist." "Happy to have found a fellow victim," Han Sen chimed right in. "I've met her before, and she really is." But before he could finish his sentence, Yang Manli's voice boomed behind them, making them jump. "What do you two think you're doing?" Her terrifying, murderous aura instantly made Han Sen gasp, crying out her name in his head. As for Su Xiaoqiao, his face went pale with pure terror. "Oh crap, we're dead." A volley of arrows slammed violently into the targets. Xiaoqiao shrieked in absolute horror. "What? Training with a 7.0 bow, 1,000 arrows each?" Yang Manli glared coldly at them and barked, "You don't leave until you're finished. If you dare slack off, I'll make you wish you were never born." Her ruthless punishment had him shaking as he whimpered, "Oh my god, she's trying to kill me. My strength just hit 7.0. Captain Yang, we were wrong. Please forgive us." Seeing this, Han Sen tried to calm him down. "Hey, don't look so hopeless. She's already gone. We can just slack off a bit. She won't even know." But instead of easing his mind, it only made him panic even more. "Deputy Leader Lu, please help me out here. Can you talk to Team Leader Yang and ask her to let me tag along tomorrow?" But of course, he gave him the cold shoulder. "What? Did you think this is a flea market where you can just bargain?" Then, he turned around and started giving Han Sen a hard time. "And as for you, don't think you can just run wild in Bullseye just because you used Captain Qin's influence to get in. Our Bullseye team isn't a dump for trash." Before walking off, he left them both with one final warning. Team Leader Yang said you have to shoot 1,000 arrows, not a single one less, and don't even dream of going anywhere until you're finished. Han Sen only felt a minor annoyance at his insults. Brushing it off, he turned right back to his training. "We can't afford to slack off. Bullseye's rules are incredibly strict." Su Xiaoqiao complained, "Strict? My ass. That Lu guy usually pockets plenty of our cash. He's just putting on a show." Then, he leaned in to warn Han Sen, "Bro, that guy definitely has a grudge against you." This left Han Sen a bit puzzled. "A grudge against me? Why?" Su Xiaoqiao lowered his voice, spilling the gossip he had dug up. "Lu Huangdao apparently has a crush on Team Leader Yang, so he's always trying to butter her up. He probably knows Team Leader Yang is annoyed with you, so he's targeting you on purpose." Hearing this, Han Sen was speechless. "He's pulling this crap on me just for that? What a psycho." Han Sen didn't waste any more breath and just picked up his bow. As he took aim, he reassured him, "Su Xiaoqiao, I dragged you into this, but you don't need to worry." Then, he released an arrow. The moment the arrow pierced the exact center of the bullseye, his confident voice rang out, "Tomorrow." We're still going to hunt that sacred blood creature. Seeing the arrow hit dead center, Su Xiaoqiao let out a shocked shout. Oh my god, 150 meters. That's insane. Back on Han Sen's end, he easily released arrow after arrow, while thinking to himself, this 7.0 training bow is much lighter than Doomsday. Shooting continuously isn't hard once you get the hang of the mechanics. With that, a rapid succession of arrows flew from his bow. Every single one of them hit the target. This completely blew Su Xiaoqiao's mind. 40 consecutive shots with such insane accuracy. You're freaking unbelievable. A few other people standing nearby saw this and couldn't believe their eyes either, gasping, holy crap. Is that really the hand speed of a guy who's been single for 30 years? The infamous ass freak? Am I seeing things? They immediately crowded around him, whispering back and forth. He seems to be using only his right hand without switching, and his draw strength isn't dropping at all. Yeah, he's not slowing down one bit. He must have some kind of secret technique. Now that I think about it, he's actually pretty impressive. However, someone who wasn't thrilled by the display sneered, there's nothing to be amazed about. It's not like he's allowed to go anywhere anyway. Ignoring them, Han Sen reminded his friend, Su Xiaoqiao, focus, we need to cut down our time. Hearing this, he immediately locked in, drew his bow to shoot, but didn't forget to add, bro, if we actually get to go, you'll be my absolute idol. Han Sen smiled confidently and declared, trust me. In his mind, he was already calculating. At this pace, we can finish by midnight. Nothing is impossible, and I can't afford to miss out on such a great hunting opportunity. Meanwhile, up in the observation room, young Manli was watching both of them closely. She thought to herself, so it really is Han Sen. He definitely has talent. It seems Qin Xuan made the right call, choosing him, but even so, she confidently declared, but whether you stay or not is entirely up to you. By this point, the room was overflowing with arrows. Some were pinned firmly into the targets, while countless others lay scattered and lonely across the floor. Su Xiaoqiao slumped onto his knees in exhaustion, complaining with a miserable look on his face. We actually finished shooting all 2,000 arrows before sunrise. Even though you shot most of them, both of my arms are completely dead. Han Sen looked at the pile of arrows messy on the table, massaging his shoulders as he reminded Su Xiaoqiao, make sure to apply some ointment so it doesn't mess up tomorrow's hunt. Su Xiaoqiao jumped up in joy, grabbing Han Sen's shirt. He exclaimed happily, Brother Sen, you're a real man. If I were a girl, I would definitely fall in love with you for the rest of my life. Hearing that, Han Sen replied with a deadpan face, thank God you're not. Suddenly remembering something, Han Sen scratched his chin and asked Su Xiaoqiao, by the way, did you manage to find out what kind of sacred blood creature we're hunting tomorrow? And what we should prepare? With a smug grin, Su Xiaoqiao confidently pointed a finger up and reassured him, don't worry about it. I did some digging this morning. In this world, there's nothing money can't buy. He recalled the moment he secretly handed some cash to bribe Yang Manli's assistant. Su Xiaoqiao said confidently, Yang Manli's assistant told me it's apparently a flying sacred blood creature. Han Sen looked slightly surprised. He glanced at Su Xiaoqiao and asked, a flying one? Then it won't be easy to hunt down. Su Xiaoqiao put his hands on his hips and replied confidently, exactly. Very few people in Son of Heaven's gang can use a bow, so they desperately need our help. Han Sen rested his chin in his hand, frowning in deep thought. This is going to be tough. Ordinary alloy arrows won't do the trick. Looks like I'll have to buy a Z-steel arrow instead. Late at night, as the moon rose high in the sky, Han Sen was still sitting in his room, bathed in the glow of his computer screen. Z-steel was a revolutionary new metal, far tougher and more flexible than standard steel. As his fingers flew across the keyboard, Han Sen was lost in thought. Once Z-metal was alloyed with steel, it would massively boost a weapon's durability. But the market price was simply astronomical, and with his meager savings, there was absolutely no way he could afford it. He stared intently at the screen, analyzing his options. The body of his Doomsday bow only had a 0.4% Z-steel content, and the bowstring barely reached 0.5%. If he wanted proper arrows, the content had to be at least in the double digits. On the monitor, a rectangular blue stone and an oddly shaped coppery red stone were displayed. Suddenly, he gasped in surprise. There on the screen was an image of an arrow with a description below it. 1.2% Z. Steel content. Price. 300,000. No other restrictions. If interested, contact 213300987. Han Sen cheered with joy. Now this is what I am talking about. The price was actually reasonable, so he decided to go negotiate. Arriving at the red light district, Han Sen walked in alone, surrounded by the deafening noise of the bustling streets. Girls in revealing two-piece outfits kept waving at him, but Han Sen kept his head down, pretending not to notice their advances. He thought to himself that the seller had sounded pretty sketchy on the phone, and now it made perfect sense why he chose this place. Recalling when he was at his computer, he had dialed the number and asked, "Can you have someone deliver it?" The voice on the other end had snapped, "If you want to buy it, come here yourself. I'll give you the address." In the distance, behind a doorway, a mysterious figure wearing a hood and a long cloak waved him over. Han Sen murmured, "That must be him." The mysterious seller confirmed, "Are you the one who wants the arrow?" He replied, "Yes." The seller opened a case to reveal a gleaming golden arrow for Han Sen to inspect. He introduced, "This is a custom handmade arrow. You can test it first, and if you are satisfied, we can make the deal." Han Sen examined the golden arrow in his hand and assessed, "Great balance. The craftsmanship is solid." He pulled out a blade, looked at the seller, and asked, "Mind if I give it a little chop?" Spotting Han Sen's blade, the seller smiled and said, "An iron cutter? Go ahead, chop all you want." Having received the green light, he swiftly struck down on the arrow with full force. The arrow didn't have a single scratch, but the blade in his hand ended up chipped. Han Sen stared at the arrow, astonished. "The edge of my iron cutter actually chipped, yet this arrow doesn't have a single mark on it. This arrow has at least 0.7% Z steel content. This is high quality, I'll take it." Hearing this, the seller smirked with pride and boasted, "It's forged from the steel bearings of a planetary-class warship. The Z steel content is a standard 1.2%, and my craftsmanship is leagues beyond any of those machine-manufactured goods." Han Sen handed over the money and said, "I had my doubts at first, but now I have zero worries. Thanks, boss." Stuffing the cash into his cloak, the seller said, "Hit me up next time you need something." The next day, at the entrance to God's sanctuary, a massive, rowdy crowd had gathered, making a chaotic racket. Luo Tianyang spotted someone and called out, "Son of Heaven, look over there." That lunatic actually showed up. Hearing this, Son of Heaven glanced over, thinking to himself, "You had the guts to tag along with Qin Xuan? Just wait and see how I absolute butcher you." Leading the group was Qin Xuan, followed by Han Sen, Su Xiaoqiao, and Young Manli. Son of Heaven stepped forward to shake hands with Qin Xuan. He said, "Qin Xuan, we need to coordinate perfectly this time to successfully hunt down that sacred blood creature." Qin Xuan replied, "Of course, my bullseye squad won't let you down. Let's move." Suddenly, Luo Tianyang shoved his way over to Han Sen, grabbing his arm as he sneered, "Since when did the bullseye squad start recruiting useless trash?" Qin Xuan shot him a deadly glare, her voice cold and threatening. "Luo Tianyang, you must have a terrible memory. Didn't I already tell you that he is mine?" Seeing Qin Xuan's irritation, Son of Heaven reached out to stop Luo Tianyang. He said, "Luo Tianyang, what are you doing? Don't make things difficult for Qin Xuan." Luo Tianyang stammered, "Son of Heaven? Fine, whatever." Despite Son of Heaven's warning, Luo Tianyang still glared at Han Sen, muttering with utter disdain, "Just a pathetic loser hiding behind a woman." Han Sen heard everything, but he remained dead silent. Watching Luo Tianyang walk away, Su Xiaoqiao stepped forward and said to him, "Brother Sen, that absolute psycho." Han Sen cut him off, his face completely expressionless. "He's just a mad dog barking, no need to pay him any mind." After the two factions joined forces, they marched into a rugged terrain of winding rivers and treacherous mountains. Son of Heaven stood at the edge of a cliff, hands on his hips as he announced, "We've arrived. This is the spot." Qin Xuan scanned the area and spoke up, "I'll have someone go down and lure the sacred blood creature out. You guys just stick to the plan." Son of Heaven looked back at her and replied, "No problem at all." Luo Tianyang stood behind him, waving his hand to summon someone. Son of Heaven crossed his arms, oozing confidence as he said, "Captain Yang, here is a little gift I've specially prepared for the Bullseye Squad. 100 steel arrows, each with a 1% Z steel content. You can hand them out to your archers." Luo Tianyang opened the weapon case with a smug, boastful grin. Son of Heaven pointed straight at Han Sen and commanded in an overbearing tone, "Except for him." Infuriated, Yang Manli stepped forward and demanded, "Why doesn't Han Sen get one? He is also a member of Bullseye, you know." Facing her questioning, he smirked and replied, "Since we are the ones providing the starlight arrows, shouldn't we be the ones deciding who gets them?" Hearing this, Yang Manli had no choice but to accept his absurd demand. Well, of course, since you are the one leading this operation, we will follow your lead then. She commanded, Lu Yingtao, come over and get the share for the top 5 from the previous test. Each gets 20 arrows, so don't feel bad about what is left for you. Our arrows aren't any worse than those starlight arrows anyway. We don't need to use their stuff anyway, Yang Manli said, her face filled with contempt. She realized that Son of Heaven was going to target Han Sen no matter what, not even showing her a shred of respect. That bastard's smug face was truly disgusting. She wanted nothing more than to slap him to death. Luo Tianyang then called out to the group, Everyone, don't just stand there. Move out according to the plan. Prepare for the ambush. The elite members of the squad got priority in choosing their spots, and everyone looked at him, replying, Understood, understood, understood. Standing on a rocky ledge, Luo Tianyang looked down at Han Sen and Su Xiaoqiao, barking out orders. What are you trash doing standing so close? Back off a bit. Su Xiaoqiao angrily clenched his fists and snapped, Hey, don't get so cocky. Han Sen immediately patted Su Xiaoqiao's shoulder to calm him down, saying, It is fine. It doesn't matter where we stand. Let's head over there. The two of them hid behind a boulder and some bushes as Su Xiaoqiao complained furiously. This is so frustrating. Who does he think he is? Fine, don't give us any starlight arrows, but did he have to go out of his way to mess with us too? Han Sen stared ahead, his face expressionless as he calmly replied, It is nothing new, especially since Son of Heaven already hates my guts. Hearing this, Su Xiaoqiao turned to him and asked, Brother Sen, aren't you mad at all? I am absolutely furious. I seriously want to punch that guy in the face. Han Sen replied with a determined tone, Of course I am, but we can't let our emotions get the better of us. If we want to teach them a lesson, we just need to act. Otherwise, we'll just end up as their laughingstock. He continued, Just wait. Who knows, maybe we'll get to kill the sacred blood creature ourselves. And if we're lucky enough to snag its beast soul, I can't wait to see the look on his face. He'll probably lose his mind. Su Xiaoqiao anxiously warned him, That is impossible. All the guys over on that cliff are Son of Heaven's men. The moment that sacred blood creature takes flight, they will rain down starlight arrows on it. He twirled the arrow in his hand dejectedly and said, We won't even get a chance to get close, you know? Suddenly, a massive roar echoed from the distance. What was that sound? It is terrifying. From behind the rocky cliffs, a massive purple dragon soared into the sky, prompting someone to scream in shock. Squad leader Qin and the others successfully lured it out. Oh my god, it is the purple-winged dragon. Pointing at the purple-winged dragon, Yang Manli shouted her orders. Everyone, shoot it down. Dozens of archers were scattered across the cliffs. Hearing the order, they drew their bows and aimed at the purple-winged dragon, shouting back, Understood, understood, understood. Hundreds of arrows rained down from all directions toward the purple-winged dragon, soaring in the sky. It seemed like they could easily bring it down, but it simply swept the arrows away with its tail. The arrows that did hit its body just bounced right off. Su Xiaoqiao gasped in shock. Those starlight arrows aren't working on it. Its scales are harder than steel. Han Sen reached behind his back and drew his alloy arrow. He muttered, If they can't hit its eyes, even those starlight arrows are useless. Han Sen drew his bow and aimed at the purple-winged dragon. He thought to himself, This arrow is made of 1.2% Z-steel. It's a one-time use, so I have to bring it down in a single shot. Hearing him, Su Xiaoqiao gasped, It's useless. Oh, no wonder Son of Heaven set up so many people. That beast is changing direction, he is. Before he could even finish his sentence, Son of Heaven leaped up from the rocky ledge. He drew his bow and aimed at the purple-winged dragon, saying with supreme confidence, Sacred blood creature, you are mine. His arrow flew toward the purple-winged dragon with incredible speed, its entire shaft glowing with a golden light as it sliced through its wing. It tore right through its wing, causing the purple-winged dragon to let out a painful shriek. Watching this, Han Sen thought, No, this isn't the right time yet. Its defenses haven't been completely broken down. I need to wait a little longer. The purple-winged dragon soared higher into the sky, one of its wings torn and bleeding. Not to be outdone, Yang Manli drew an arrow that glowed with a silver light and muttered, Son of Heaven, I won't let you steal this from me. She drew her bow and fired at the purple-winged dragon, her arrow flying as fast as a rocket. The purple-winged dragon's other wing was completely shredded by Yang Manli's arrow. Everyone cheered in excitement. The beast soul arrows of Son of Heaven and Yang Manli can be retrieved and reused. Riding on his massive panther, Son of Heaven barked orders to the crowd. Both of its wings are injured. It won't be able to fly much further. Give chase! Everyone immediately mounted up and pursued. They shouted back, Roger, prepare the ambush, don't let it escape. On their end, Han Sen and Su Xiaoqiao quickly ran after them. He thought, I don't have a beast soul arrow, and I don't have a mount either. They are going to catch up to it first. Running alongside Han Sen, Su Xiaoqiao asked anxiously, Brother Sen, what are we even doing? We'll never catch up to them on foot like this. Just then, Qin Xuan called out to Han Sen. Looking back in surprise, he thought, Qin Xuan? Qin Xuan reached out to him from the cliff and said, Hurry up, give me your hand. Han Sen jumped up, reaching out to her. He thought to himself, just in time. Qin Xuan easily grabbed his hand and pulled Han Sen up. Seeing this, Su Xiaoqiao called out, Station Master Qin, what about me? Han Sen wrapped his arm around Qin Xuan's waist and thought with a cheeky grin, wow, she's pretty slender. Her mount is really something too. Qin Xuan quickly turned around, glaring at him with disgust. Hey, don't touch me. I only let you come along because Manly said your archery skills are decent and you might be useful to us. Han Sen pouted and replied, Got it, Station Master Qin. But deep down, he thought, oh please. It's not like you have a crush on me anyway. Like I'd even care. The crowd below looked up at the ledge, whispering constantly, Man, that is way too high. How are we supposed to climb up there? What should we do? Unless someone has a flying beast soul? Qin Xuan and Han Sen walked over to Yang Manli. Manly, what's going on? Son of Heaven glared at Han Sen, thinking in frustration, that bastard actually dared to ride on Qin Xuan's mount. Yang Manli walked up to Qin Xuan and said, Qin Xuan, you got here just in time. That sacred blood creature has flown over the mountain. Even with beast soul arrows, we can't kill it. What are we supposed to do? Qin Xuan looked up, her voice filled with determination. We have to find a way to get over there and kill it, or at least lure it down. But even then, our chances of winning are pretty slim. Son of Heaven clenched his fists, grinding his teeth, and said angrily, Just send someone up there to lure it down. We'll wait here to ambush it. Everyone looked up at the mountain helplessly, whispering, But who can do that? This mountain is way too steep. If you fall, you're dead before you even reach the top. And even if you do make it, that creature will just tear you to pieces. Son of Heaven growled in anger, raising his voice. We've already made it this far. Do you really want to give up now? Who among you actually has the guts to step up? You'll be handsomely rewarded afterward. That sounds fair, doesn't it? Hearing Son of Heaven's offer, the crowd began to agree. The Son of Heaven has a point. That sounds pretty good. If we can get some of those beast souls, our Geno points will skyrocket. Exactly. Han Sen stood in the back, taking it all in. He thought, just like when we hunted the black-scaled serpent, this guy only cares about sacrificing other people's lives to get what he wants. Qin Xuan rubbed her wrists and said, We need to act fast. Anyone who wants a piece of the pie, follow me up there. Son of Heaven stopped her in concern. Qin Xuan, you don't need to head up there yourself. Just order someone else to go. Ignoring his advice, Qin Xuan kept moving forward and replied, Why should I? I hate waiting. Knowing he couldn't stop her, Son of Heaven shoved Han Sen's shoulder, ordering him, Hurry up and follow her. Protect Qin Xuan. His eyes locked onto Han Sen with murderous intent as he thought, You're a dead man once you reach the top. Han Sen looked back at him with confusion, thinking, What is this lunatic plotting now? One by one, the group climbed up using the vines. Qin Xuan led the climb with Han Sen right behind her. Up above, the purple-winged scaled dragon flapped its wings furiously, kicking up massive clouds of dust. It let out a thunderous roar, threatening the climbers approaching it. With a savage snap of its jaws, it bit a charging attacker clean in half. Instead of backing down in fear, the crowd seemed even more fired up, rushing at the beast with everything they had. Qin Xuan looked up at the massive purple-winged scaled dragon and shouted, Everyone, take cover! Shoot and kill the beast! Everyone yelled at each other to find cover. Hurry! Get ready to shoot! But the purple-winged scaled dragon easily swept them off their feet with its massive tail. Han Sen stood on a distant boulder, drawing his bow and aiming at the beast. He thought to himself, with so many people shooting at it non-stop, that creature is already heavily wounded. He pulled the bowstring tight, getting ready. It's going to drop soon. I just need to wait for the perfect moment to finish it off with a Z-steel arrow. Suddenly, Son of Heaven leaped up from behind, shrouded in a dark green aura. Son of Heaven shifted into his beast form and blindsided Han Sen from behind. As Han Sen cried out in pain, Son of Heaven laughed triumphantly. I warned you, didn't I? Today, you die here. Han Sen plummeted from the cliff, desperately trying to grab onto a vine. Han Sen clamped both hands onto the vine, his body slamming violently against the rock face. Gritting his teeth, he winced in pain. Ugh, that hurts. Finally stopping his fall, he breathed a sigh of relief. Thank goodness my physical stats have improved. Otherwise, my bones would have been crushed to powder. Son of Heaven is a real piece of work, using such a powerful mutant beast soul just to kill me. Han Sen scrambled back up to the peak, thinking, you wanted me dead, but I don't die that easily. The purple-winged scaled dragon was cornered, with Qin Xuan on one side and Son of Heaven on the other. Hiding behind the rocks, the others whispered, look, they've got it cornered. Move it, everyone. Form a circle and close in. Don't let it escape. Han Sen wiped the sweat from his brow, thinking, Qin Xuan even used her beast soul to turn into a golden lion. Even though my Bloody Slayer beast soul is incredibly strong, it's not suited for this terrain. With a look of determination, he thought, I have to bide my time. This isn't the right moment yet. In her massive golden lion form, Qin Xuan lunged forward and bit the purple-winged scaled dragon's leg, making it shriek in agony. Meanwhile, Son of Heaven unleashed a barrage of punches right at its head. Desperate, the purple-winged scaled dragon thrashed wildly, breaking free from their joint assault. Qin Xuan reverted to her human form and charged forward, shouting, it's almost dead. Attack! Son of Heaven also reverted to his human form, brandishing his sword as he yelled, all right, this beast's life ends by my blade. Flanking the purple-winged dragon, they stabbed its chest from both sides. Just as they thought they had it, the beast roared and sent them both flying. Slamming hard against a nearby boulder from the impact, Qin Xuan winced and grit her teeth to endure the pain. Hiding in the brush, Han Sen watched in worry and cried out, Qin Xuan. As the purple-winged dragon turned its gaze to the opposite side, someone shouted, everyone, this creature is way too strong. It was trying to fly to the opposite cliff. Knowing he couldn't let it escape, Han Sen quickly bolted after it. He knew that if it crossed over there, nobody would ever get a chance to kill it. Looking at the purple-winged dragon, Han Sen's face hardened with resolve. He drew his golden bow from his back. Son of Heaven also summoned his own arrow, gritting his teeth in fury. How can I let my prey escape like this? Eat my arrow first, you bastard. Firing off a blue arrow, he screamed in rage. You damn lizard, you're mine, die. Seeing the purple-winged dragon about to take flight, Han Sen steeled his resolve and let his golden arrow fly. Though released after Son of Heaven's arrow, his projectile flew much faster. The golden arrow tore through the air, heading straight for the purple-winged dragon. With one fatal shot, Han Sen brought down the purple-winged dragon just before it could escape. But then, Han Sen's eyes went wide in absolute shock. Wait, what is this? The crowd looked on in shock, instantly breaking into hushed whispers. Oh my god, did that ass freak actually kill it? Ass freak killed the purple-winged dragon? This is unbelievable. Son of Heaven stared in shock, wondering, how? How did his arrow hit first? Clutching her injured shoulder, Qin Xuan looked at him with deep suspicion. Han Sen, you. But before she could finish, a furious Son of Heaven rushed over and grabbed his collar, demanding, how the hell do you have a mutant beast soul? Faced with his aggressive questioning, Han Sen casually replied, look, I just wanted to hunt for a beast soul too. My luck is just incredibly trash though. He suddenly smirked and continued, I didn't get a single thing. Qin Xuan stared at him, asking, Han Sen, did you manage to get the beast soul? The beast soul belongs entirely to whoever lands the killing blow. If you got it, name your price. Rubbing his bruised cheek, Han Sen put on an innocent look and said, to be honest, I got absolutely nothing. If I had a chance to make that kind of money, why on earth would I pass it up? I panicked and was terrified the purple-winged dragon would fly away, so I just shot. Otherwise, everyone's hard work would have gone to waste. Frowning, Qin Xuan looked at him and thought, it seems he's telling the truth. After all, getting a beast soul is no easy task. Qin Xuan looked at Han Sen with a serious expression and warned him, fine, just forget about it. Just don't wander off alone for the next few weeks, or Son of Heaven will end up killing you before you know it. Don't say I didn't warn you. Hearing this, Han Sen happily smiled. Got it, Station Master Qin, Han Sen replied. But in his mind, he thought, what if Qin Xuan hadn't stepped in today? He recalled Son of Heaven's furious face as he struck him, shouting, damn you, you did that on purpose, didn't you? I'll cripple you right here, Right now. As Han Sen held his bruised cheek in pain, Qin Xuan rushed forward, shielding him with her body as she snapped. Stop right there, son of heaven. If you lay another hand on my people, don't blame me for what happens next. Staring at Qin Xuan's protective back, which almost seemed to glow in that moment, Han Sen thought, well, having her on my side is pretty awesome. By nightfall, the greenhouse-like buildings were bathed in the shadows of surrounding trees. Taking a shower, Han Sen couldn't wipe the massive grin off his face as he muttered, a purple-winged dragon, a flying-type beast, soul. Looking at the shimmering purple aura swirling in his palm, the system notification popped up to announce the successful hunt. Sacred blood creature, purple-winged dragon killed. Obtained beast soul of purple-winged dragon. Eating its meat could yield 0 to 10 sacred geno points. Recalling the moment he fired that arrow, he felt incredibly lucky. That single shot had bought him the crucial extra time he needed. He burst into laughter under the shower. A rare beast soul like this? Hardly anyone in the steel armor shelter has one. I'm absolutely loaded. After drying off his hair, he walked out while cheerfully humming a tune. Han Sen looked down and gasped, "Whoa, my copper-toothed beast has evolved so much." Grabbing the iron bars in front of him, he cheered in pure excitement. Oh my god, sacred blood, it actually evolved into a sacred blood creature. This is amazing, that black crystal is insane. He grinned, happily patting his copper-toothed beast on the head. He muttered, 3 months. In just 3 months, this black crystal can breed a sacred blood creature. With an ecstatic look, he declared, at this rate, I can enter the second god's sanctuary in less than 5 years. Han Sen gripped the knife tightly, his eyes flashing with determination. Time to butcher this thing. And then, I'll head over to the plaza, buy a live primitive creature, and bring it back to raise. Frowning with a serious expression, he drove the knife deep into the copper-toothed beast, his mind already spinning with plans to raise more sacred blood creatures.